Start streaming. Let me see if I get a feed over here on the YouTube side. Come on. Oh, it says we're live, and it looks like it went to the right URL, so that's good. Hold on. I'm still seeing a black screen, though, even though it says live 9 seconds. Uh-oh.
I don't believe it could go that easily. I don't believe
either. Hold on here. Oh, no, I see myself. I see you guys. I believe we are live.
Okay, there we go.
Let me check the audio real quick. I see you guys.
Yep, we're good. Hello.
Yeah, I think we're good to go. I think we did it, boys.
Is anybody there?
I think we did it, boys. Now I'm probably taking a minute to show up. Here, I'm gonna.
There's like 2 people.
Here, I'm gonna say tech talk start right here.
Hey.
I've been playing with this eye tracking technology, so I've got freaking things all over my screen, like all over my screen. Well, because of Gimpy God. Thank you, by the way, for introducing us to each other. We've been chatting and conspiring. But I set up this little Tobii 4C thing, and it's really cool. Except that if it doesn't work perfectly, it is the most tiring thing you could possibly use, because you're like, okay, so that's where I want to look. Now I have to look a little further than that. It's like it's just like a complete eyeball something. Completely messes with you.
So there, I don't know if it's the Tobii one, but there's another company that makes one that works like insanely well. And yeah, I don't know if it might be the Tobii though. I don't know. Maybe it's a configuration thing, because the one I used,
it's pretty great.
Yeah, the one I used worked flawlessly. Like I didn't need any training. I sat down and I was playing Watch Dogs 2, and I'm just like looking at stuff. Like you look at the place where you want to go to cover, and on the screen it shows like a silhouette of where you're looking, and then you click a button and it commits the action. So while you're playing the game and running around, you can just look for cover and click a button, and your guy runs over there and hides. And I was like, dude, this is game changing, like literally, no pun intended.
Well,
how much was it?
I mean, I think they just sent me these. I had a few of them. I sent them. I took them to a local school that has for developmental and the kids with developmental disabilities and learning disabilities. So I hooked them up with a couple of them on their laptops.
Dude, that's awesome.
Because they have and they're using technology. They're using old technology on old laptops. Like, it's so frustrating. And then the medical version of these things are all thousands of dollars, right? Like Gimpy God and I were talking about this, where it's just like you slap medical on something, and all of a sudden it's like you can add an extra couple $1,000 if you want to, you know?
Yeah, it's weird too, because like the machine I use when I sleep, like I was telling you, the CPAP, right? Positive airway pressure machine. It's literally just a fan in like an Arduino. That's like all it is. Like you crack the thing open, there's nothing special about it. It's literally just a tube in, a compressor, and a computer driving it, and a power adapter. And these things cost like upwards of $1,500 to $2,500, like, because it's a medical device.
I love that you don't think anything of just like cracking open your CPAP machine.
Well, I actually already did hack it.
Of course I'd open it.
I actually did hack it. My doctor already chewed me out for it too, but I was like, it's either this or I don't use it, and we came to a compromise really fast.
Well, that's the eye stuff. It's the same thing with this. Sorry, that's the same thing with my hearing aids, where it's like they're like, well, you got to come in and get them adjusted. I was like, no, I don't. Just give me a code or something. I'll just go in and tweak them myself. There's no point in sitting there with someone going like, does that sound better? It's like, well, I can hear it. Why don't you just let me adjust it? It's
that was like the pressure on my CPAP. They're like, oh man, if you adjust it wrong, you can like really hurt yourself. And it's like, dude, I am literally suffocating and not getting enough air. I'm waking up and I'm like tachycardic. How long is it going to take you to change the pressure? Oh, well, you come in with your machine and we'll go ahead and do some tweaks, and then we'll send you home and I can get you in next week. It's like, dude, I'll be dead by next week. Like it's far less of a risk for me to just turn a knob until I can keep breathing and stay asleep. And the thing is, the machine monitors you. So the machine tells you if you stop breathing, and it was already saying I was like not breathing like 10 times an hour. And then I turn up the pressure and now I'm not breathing 1 time an hour. Well, 1 is better than 10 in this context, but the doctor's still like, oh, you can't hack that because, you could do real damage to yourself. It's like, come on, bro. Come on. I could literally go and
I'll sign a waiver.
Exactly.
Like, if I hurt myself, you are not responsible. Like, I did this to me. Like, it's okay.
I think it's just more about their worry that someone's going to like start building them for like a fraction of the cost, like you probably could.
Yeah.
No, honestly, a lot of that stuff is like stupid simple on the insides.
You're on the wrong microphone, dude. There's no way that's your crispy mic. There is no way that's the because I'm hearing an echo. Okay, he knows. He's on it. He's on. Look at him. Look at the cogs turning in his eyes, dude. Look at that. He's like, you can tell like the technician's coming out in him right now. He's like, oh yeah. Oh,
it's like
there he is.
Go to the cam link and like try to pull audio from, which I mean, it's a nice camera, but I don't have a good mic on the camera. It's a good camera, not a good microphone.
Right.
Now you sound crispy.
Yeah. So thank you for the people in the audience who are saying that Houston sounds distant and tinny.
Hey, is that still the mic that I gave you, the 2050?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, those things, they sound so
Super
good. Like,
fresh.
I recommend, if you want to get a microphone and you're looking for like that buttery radio voice, the cheapest one that you can go with that I feel like gives you that like really buttery voice is either the pluggable USB Vox, which is just an Audio Technica AT2020 clone. They completely ripped them off. Or just spend the extra $20 and get like a real AT2020. They sound amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Even that 2050 you have, I think, is like a $80 more microphone because it has multiple pickup patterns. But it's basically just a 2020.
That's the difference.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing unless you have two people talking and you need to do the 180, thing where it has a microphone on both sides. Yeah, exactly. Unless you have to do that, no, it's cheap, dude. It's
pretty fresh. I dig it.
Yep, and you can buy one that has USB built into it, or you can buy one that's XLR that goes into mixer board, which is like the one I gave you is XLR, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm this close to getting an XLR, the Go XLR Mini. I want it bad. I've seen them for sale. They're back to like their normal retail price of $250 or so, but I might be able to get them cheaper, like used. Yeah, there's some people like locally that have been selling them. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
And David, you got a fancy little audio deal that you use too, right? What is it, like Rode or something like that?
You know what? I actually just got a new one, and then I started setting it up, and then I was like, fuck this. It's too fucking complicated. I wanted all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't want it. Like, I don't need it. I'm finding that the more I dive into this, the less complicated I want it to be. It's just easier if it's just a bunch of USB cables and a USB mic, and you're done. Like, you don't.
Which one did you get? What was too complicated? We need to know what Dr. Rodney McKay was defeated on.
Well, no, it wasn't even defeated. It was just like, I just didn't want to spend all the time on it. Like, it was just like, you can set it up. You read the freaking manual, you're fine. And I got it running, but I was like, it was the native instruments. Like, it's beautiful. If I was like DJing and writing music and it was overkill for me, and I really like the design and I like the simplicity of it. I thought it would work well with what I had, and it's it's absolutely beautiful, but it's just, I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend all my time playing with this, and it's just no point. I might as well just it's just easier to put a couple of ugly cables, feed them out of my whatever computer I end up using.
Well, it's like my Yamaha mixer, right? It's got 10 channels. I've only ever used 2 at a time. I literally could have bought the 4-channel version of this for like half the price, and I never would have used it.
That's the cheapest one you can get that has a USB interface.
Oh, the 4-channel doesn't have a USB interface.
Because I was gonna get the 4-channel one, and it's not USB.
Okay, so maybe that's why I didn't do it then, because I'm never gonna use 10 channels. Like 10 channels, if you have like a recording studio and you have people coming in with multiple mics and multiple instruments and everything like that. Yeah. And I do like the effects. The effects are pretty cool because I can rig them to a pedal to do real-time effects. But all the modern mixer boards now all do effects in computer. So you the Go XLR, you can literally download new effects and everything like that. It's not,
and it's like a button. There's like buttons on the thing. Beep, 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 beep.
So what I'd recommend
is software is great now. Like, a lot of the software will do that stuff for you anyway. So that I'm now trying to simplify. Like, I was adding all these things and all these switches and what's the coolest way of getting everything to work. And then I was like, you know what? The reality is, once I settle on something, it's just going to sit there. So I just want the simplest thing possible. I'll tell you what I'd love would be someone to come up with a legitimately well-made, noise-free, interference-free, just like the mini, like just what are the jacks? The 1/8 inch mic jacks.
The bigger,
the little tiny ones.
Yeah, that's
3.5 mil.
Yep.
They're like they're just like the little tiny ones. What are they called? Aren't they like 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch or? Yeah, that's it. Is that what are they called?
Well, I've called them an 1/8 inch mini jack, but they're also 3.5 millimeter.
3.5 millimeter.
Yeah.
3.5 millimeters. Okay, all right. I thought you said
the big one is a 1/4 inch.
Right.
Yeah, or they'll also call them TRS as another thing they call them is TRS jack.
The big
the big one, like the old 70s headphones and stuff. Yeah, the TRS, and then you have balanced XLR and balanced XLR. And so there's all kinds of
XLRs. They're beautiful, except that nowadays they're like bigger than the freaking switch you're plugging them into. Like, I think like if you could just use very simple, they're not consumer, they're not prosumer, I know, whatever, but just something that could mix numerous little mic inputs like that would be amazing. And I looked on Amazon, they just all had such horrible reviews.
The funny thing is you can actually just use a Y adapter. Like as long as it's not a powered microphone, like if it's one of those old PC mics or whatever like that, you can literally just take a Y adapter and just plug Y adapter into Y adapter into Y adapter and have like 20 microphones connected to it. Because I did that once at a PDX LAN to get like 3 or 4 people on headset mics. Is I just kept putting these Y adapters on that was designed for Ying off stereo headphones.
We did
Why not?
Yeah, you and I did that at PAX to get our audio into your Zoom thing.
Yep, that's exactly what I did to get it off of their mixer board. Yeah, and it totally worked.
That.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
I'm using that as my audio input, not today. But when I stream now, that's honestly
for your audio interface.
Yeah. Joel 3D Printing Nerd actually told me a feature that I never knew it had. Like, so those zooms. I'm trying to remember what the name of it, but there's a feature where you basically cannot underdrive or overdrive the microphone. Like, no matter how hard you yell into it, it will not clip.
Wouldn't that be compression?
No,
it's got a built-in compressor.
It's separate from the compressor. It's a feature called maybe somebody in chat knows what it's called. It's specific to the Zoom.
Sound elves. The sound elves.
The sound elves.
Some sort of normalizer.
It's really weird because it doesn't compress the audio. You can still do like quiet and it won't bring up the background noise. But if you scream as hard as you can into it, it will not allow it to pass the clipping point. It's almost like an upper limiter. But on Zoom, they call it something in the menu system. It's called like flat audio or something like that. But it's awesome because if you're ever recording audio, my biggest problem is like, how do you get it really, really crisp without bringing up the background noise while you're quiet? Because the compressor will do that. Like I can crank my compressor way up and now listen to the background.
Right.
But now if I talk and I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? Now the background disappears and you just hear me. But the second I quiet down, now you hear the background again. So I that's why I usually don't use a compressor now, is because it brings up the background noise. And I got like my crypto miner behind me, like going crazy right now, making me like, $2
what do you got going?
Show.
What are you doing? Are you doing your Ethereum or are you just mining for Doge?
Well, right now I'm mining mostly Ethereum because NiceHash keeps picking. I just use NiceHash. NiceHash just mines whatever the most profitable crypto is with it. And it's got 8 1060 6 gigabyte cards in it. So like, 2 generations old.
Yeah, but those are still super, super nice.
Dude, it makes over $20 a day right now. Mining, and it eats $1.75 in electricity. So it's been hugely profitable just having that thing just cranking along behind me, even with those old generation cards. So crypto is still profitable.
Well, and someone was saying that the Ethereum is not quite such just a destruction of the planet thing. It's that some of those algorithms are actually being used for some some good purposes as opposed to just
most of them actually are. Like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, well, first off, I don't want to say that Bitcoin's like completely wasteful, because keep in mind that a lot of it's verifying transactions. So it's like, your bank using computing power to verify that wire transfers are legit.
Right.
So a lot of the mining is going towards verification, but Bitcoin is like intrinsically wasteful if you're mining for a coin. However, Ethereum uses something called smart contracts. And what it's doing is when you're actually mining, you're not just generating random numbers, you're running people's algorithms and running people's data processing. And so you're doing work for them in exchange for them paying you to do that work. So the blind mining can still technically exist, but as long as there's work to be done, the miners will be doing the workload. And I think that that's really cool with the smart contract stuff. And now you have, people that are doing this NFT token stuff where they're basically attaching like cryptographic
non-fungible.
Yeah, exactly. So
this is cool.
It's a really neat concept because it allows you to lend scarcity and credibility to a digital object.
Which we were talking about this a few weeks ago, right? Where the idea of like, could you do like a Tech Bandits coin that you print out, but that has its own individual value? Like that coin is, I love the idea of that, because I think that's a great way of, also just authorizing like autographs and all that kind of stuff. You've got an autograph that's actually been signed and stuff.
Like I'm actually surprised you haven't. So David, actually, this is something that you should try. And let me tell you why you should do it in your particular situation. Is, let's say you go to a convention or something and somebody pays $5 or $10 or $20 whatever for a signature, right? Like if you're doing the signature thing, you could actually use the NFTs to create like a limited edition signed autograph, issue like 100 NFT tokens to those each signature. Literally take a picture of a physical signed picture and put that physical picture in the blockchain as an NFT, and only 100 of those would exist. And since you generated them, the authenticity would be proven. Nobody else, if somebody tried to copy them or create another NFT, it'd be invalidated by the fact you were the first one to create it in the chain and you owned it originally. So if you did that, then you could sell digital copies. Like no physical thing would transpire. Like you'd literally be selling a digital picture that somebody would be able to verify to somebody else that it was actually given to them by you and only you, and there's only 100 of them ever in existence. And if
because the other thing that people do is they'll get you to sign something. Oh, sign one for my mom, and oh, while you're here, can you sign one for my son and
for my eBay
and a couple of other people, and then they wipe off the name and then sell it as an autograph, right?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, not so much now. When the show was on the air, now it's like, you're who?
Who's this guy? I don't know.
You're that guy from Clarice.
You're that asshole on Clarice. Oh my God, that was the funniest experience this week. So my son watched Clarice. So I did episode 4 of Clarice. So we watched the one before it because we were behind by one. We watched that. Baz is sort of in and out of interested. And then we go on and the show comes on. And as soon as I show up, because I'm just basically making all of the leads' lives misery, Twitter just starts like, what a prick. I hate this guy. This guy's an idiot. And my son's just like killing himself, just loving it because he's just seeing Twitter just go nuts with what an asshole his father is. So he took great glee in that. So.
Hey, Michael Fernald super chatted $10. Said, David, you're amazing in Clarice. He said, hope to see you more in the latest episode. Jerry and Ox, you're both amazing. Love the show, folks. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I haven't seen it yet. I need to see it. Where can I go and see this?
Silence of the Nerds.
Where can I go see Clarice?
It's on. It's on. I'm the worst actor ever.
He's like, I did a show, but I don't know what channel it's on.
Here it's on Global. Who watches television anymore? Like I had to watch television.
Yeah. Like, what streaming service can I find your show on?
CBS.
Right.
CBS. So CBS.
So that'd be Peacock for.
Oh shit! I have CBS because that's Star Trek Discovery's on CBS, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, CBS is one I have, so I don't have to buy another.
But I'm also in Canada, so it's all completely fucked up now. Like they're all over the place on that. But yeah, I gotta say it's an interesting show because I thought it was just going to be like FBI procedural, but they've really gone into this whole. They've gone to this whole sort of the politics of the era, like the sexism, the racism, it's pretty. You sit there going like, like not just about the horror, but but some of the sort of situations you find yourself in. And of course, I'm the old white straight racist asshole, sexist, homophobic.
Somebody's got to play it, right? Yeah. Somebody's got to play it.
Exactly.
Let's just hope it doesn't turn out like what was Game of Thrones? Where like the guy that played Joffrey had to like disappear off to another country and like basically change his name because people like wanted to kill him in real life.
What a good actor though. Like,
he's an awesome actor.
Yeah, the kid who played Joffrey like early on. I'm sure it's lessened now, but no, like he's in the same way that the kid who played Malfoy in Harry Potter. Like people legit believe that dude was a prick.
Yeah.
But he's
a lovely guy
kid. It's like a dude. Yeah. And same with
he was on Rise of the Apes. I met him on Rise of the Apes. Nice.
Oh, right on.
He was really together, that guy. I liked him.
Yeah, it's really sad what happens, especially to the kids, right? Because it's like these are child actors that are they do the roles obviously a little too good because these people literally believe they're not acting. Like they just went and really found a guy that likes to just like kill women or whatever and bring them onto the show.
But that's it. I mean, like, God, what was I going to say? Who's the other one who was just getting nailed for it? Damn it. The guy. Who's the other guy in Game of Thrones? The one that basically tortures and kills everyone. He was on that amazing show Misfits. Ewan Ryan. He played I can't remember, was the king, the creepy guy who like cut off the other guy's nuts and tortured him. And what was his name? I can't remember what that character's name was. He was like, good God, that guy was. I just wanted him dead, and I'm like an actor. So
you go meet him on set. I refuse to work with this guy. I refuse.
No, it was actually good because I'd seen him on Misfits, which is this other great British show that they did, which is like a total like turn superheroes on their head type thing, like a real, very British take on superheroes. It's pretty great. We should watch that if you like that sort of stuff. But and luckily he was sort of a good guy in that, so I knew him from that. But watching the show, I was like, he's just everything he does was just so. I love those characters. Those are the characters I want.
I feel bad for kids that like get into acting, dude. Like I really do, because I feel like they get a really unfair shake of like what reality is, and then like they become adults and it's like either all downhill from there. Everybody attacks them, beats them up and stuff. And it's like they can't understand like what's going on. They're like, I literally went on the set and I was told what to do.
I think it's more about the parents.
It's definitely the group that ends up being surrounded these kids, because like. You look at, there's a few, but like the one that stands out to me was Hillary Duff. right? She was probably just as big as Lindsay Lohan at about the same time.
Yeah,
she had a killer TV show. She did a little bit of music and stuff. She was big and famous, but then just kind of disappeared. And which is great. Like, she did her thing, didn't get sucked up into it, and like no crazy drug stuff, no weird. She's just like a good mom and stuff.
Or she kept it to herself.
Yeah, right. Didn't get caught, I guess.
Right.
And now I think she's got a show. I think they're bringing back her old show.
Really?
I can't remember.
Yeah, what was that one? She was like that spy or something, wasn't she?
No, she had like a little cartoon character that she talked to, like herself. It was like can't remember the name of the show now, but I think I heard maybe they were bringing that back, but yeah,
we should rename the show to Three Old Guys with Memory Problems.
Yeah. I know, it really is. That's right.
My ADHD, I'll remember later. Yeah. I'm sure somebody in the chat.
They've already
I'm sure. It's right on the tip of my tongue, too.
Yeah,
I'm just Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah, I remember Lizzie McGuire. Yeah.
That's it.
They're bringing that back?
I think I remember seeing that. This may have been a couple years back or something. You know, COVID stuff probably ruined it.
Arthur got it. It was Ramsey Bolton was the name you were looking for earlier.
That's it.
It was Ramsey Bolton who got denutted. Man, Game of Thrones though, that was a ride. Other than the last season, obviously that just went off a cliff, but the rest of it was amazing.
Oh my God, yeah, those last few episodes were so. But this is the problem: is it's like the Brits have this right. Go in, hit them with like 6 or 7 shows, and then just wrap it up. Like, I know you want to keep going and drain it for all the money it's worth, but just.
Oh, did you like it?
I like. I love that. Netflix has got a few what they call limited series that way, where they just do 8 episodes or whatever, and that's it. It tells a complete, cohesive story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's no more. There's no second season. Or what they'll do is they'll make something related, like The Haunting of Hill House, and then The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Did you watch the second one? I never watched the second one though.
I'm a few episodes. I'm like 2 off from finishing Bly Manor. I didn't watch Hill House.
Did you like it?
I dig it. It's an interesting ghost story twist.
You didn't watch Hill House? You didn't watch the first one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude, the first one was actually until the end was pretty great.
I haven't seen any of them.
I want to go back. I definitely do because I liked the premise and the storytelling of the second one. And then, but they're like under a similar like umbrella, unrelated, but like there is like a haunting universe that they're making.
Yeah,
and I dig that. I think that's super cool. Like,
I thought the first one was absolutely brilliant. I couldn't get into the second one, but the first one I thought was some of the most, because it was just all the old Hollywood horror stuff.
Yeah.
And now you're the opposite. You're my opposite.
I think American Horror Story did something similar too, where like each season is like a new theme, tells a whole new story, but they're somewhat like related to each other.
I like shows like that.
I never saw that.
I just understand kind of the overarching premise. It's not my style.
You guys have seen Black Mirror,
I'd like to see it because it seems like a good horror thing.
Have you seen Black Mirror?
Black Mirror is cool.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
I love Black Mirror because they do that same thing where they're all like separate stories, but then they'll do one that like brings a couple of them together. And then sometimes they'll do one that brings them all together, even though they were like completely different stories that had no links to each other. They'd somehow create a narrative that would bring them all together into one world. And I love that. But the thing is, they don't make very many of them. Like I think one of their seasons was only like 6 episodes.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's like a funding thing. British. Oh, is it really?
Very British.
That's cool.
Hey, iCage, thank you for that £5 super chat. Thank you, sir. You said love your guys' content like every week.
$7.
That it is. I know that is only fair that I give you something back, dude. We appreciate that because the super chats keep us going. They help Aux realize his dream of building computers like a big old computer builder over there with his beard and everything.
Yeah, man.
And they help.
How's that going, by the way?
I have hit a slight roadblock in my.
That's horseshit,
travels.
Dude. That is horseshit.
Well, okay, so Thermal Take was super nice to give me this Tower 100 and one of their AIOs for talking with their product manager, which I need to get the recordings of that out. It's been like a month. And I want to do something nice. Like I want to do something really cool with this one.
It's a good looking case.
Yeah, it's all white. It kind of reminds me of like a 3D printer. It's got 3 or like 1 full tempered glass in the front and then like 2 half ones on the sides. And and I was hoping I could do like an almost full white or like a black and white build. But man, I'm having the hardest time finding ITX motherboards.
If anybody in chat has a drop on an ITX motherboard, well, wait, what for what chip do you need it for?
As recent as possible would be nice. Because I have a line on a 3950X that I might actually be able to afford. If
what,
the
3090, woohoo!
No, 3950X, which if I go that route, I also have access to a board for it. But then I might also be able to get a 9900K, and that's where I was having troubles finding a Z390 board, ITX Z390 board.
It is hard to get what you want component wise right now, I've got to say, because I keep looking because I want to do a build, and I basically give up at this point.
Yeah, and I mean,
is it chip shortage or is it the scalpers still causing all this bullshit?
It's chip shortage and shipping actually, and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's so like, yeah, it's every single step of the chain. So COVID hit, they, like all the major shipping companies like out of Southeast Asia, dry docked like 1,000 ships or something. It was insane. They just, hey, we're not shipping stuff, so let's pull these things out of the water, get them fixed up. We'll go through like some early maintenance stuff. But then things started getting better, and it takes like a month to get a boat out of dry dock. And so now there's literally cargo containers just sitting on docks out in Southeast Asia waiting to be shipped. There's just not enough cargo ships to take them right now, and they're trying real hard. And then also manufacturing for Samsung, TSMC, all these chip manufacturers are just slammed because everybody, AMD, Nvidia, and Intel all decided they wanted a bunch of product all at the same time.
Well, and they stopped building cars too, right? They stopped building cars because of the chip shortage.
Yeah, they can't get the fucking chips for the infotainment systems and the AI bits and stuff. Yeah, it's every.
What's the ETA to like recover from this? Like, I haven't really been paying attention to like what's going on with it.
Probably late summer.
Oh, geez.
That's just for like
we're not going to get it for a while. Yeah,
that's just to get shipping back to normal. It is
the
better part of the year. Yeah.
And then the problem is all these companies like plan like so far ahead with like what they're designing and what they're going to output that when stuff like this happens, it's like it looks like a huge conflict publicly. Like, you know, Nvidia is creating these crypto mining cards, you know, that they claim is trying to like pull heat off the gaming cards or whatever. But it's like they can't create enough of either of them to meet the demand anyways, like even if it was just gamers. So because of the chip shortage. So it's like, I guess everybody's kind of screwed right now, and that's just going to drive the prices and availability like through the roof for PC builders.
Sort of to be expected. I mean, like we're in the middle of a freaking pandemic. At some point or another, like every single country was in some kind of a lockdown. It's no huge surprise, but we still want our fucking Amazon packages to show up a day later, right? I mean, and I'm just as guilty. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, why can't I get? I got no choice on these audio cards, you know, and it's like, yeah, because people are dying. David.
Yeah, there's like some kid like starving in Ethiopia, and we're like, God damn it, my package is going to be a day late. No, this is unacceptable.
2 days? What are we living in the 1800s?
It's coming Pony Express.
What?
Oh my God, it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah,
dude, I remember. So I remember back when I was a teenager, and I'd order stuff like this. This is like the genesis of being able to order things online, right? This is like you had to like go and you put in a credit card number, and like they didn't have any verification or anything, right? It was like this is the first dawn of buying stuff online. And I remember I'd buy stuff, and it would take at minimum like a week and a half, even if it was coming like from the state right next to me. Like I could order it from Oregon, and it would take like a week or 2 weeks for me to get it. And I remember getting it and going, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing. Like, wow, in 2 weeks, just sitting here, I can type in a credit card number or my grandparents' credit card number. Don't worry, they knew most of the time. And so the stuff would show up. And I remember that, like, I thought that was the most amazing thing. It's like, man, I didn't even have to go to the store. It only took 2 weeks to get here. And now we're to the point where it's like, yeah, if it's not here in like 60 minutes, we're like bitching, right? You know, it's like if you got the Amazon Prime 1 hour delivery thing. Oh, spoiled rotten, man. We're all spoiled rotten.
Well, it's also, I mean, the other funny thing was like you used to go to, and I find this really funny now when it happens, but you used to go to a store and if they didn't have it, they would order it for you. Yeah, and now it's like you go to a bookstore, they're like, well, we can order it for you. And I'm like, how long is it going to take? I always like to ask because it's just so funny. They're like, yeah, about 2 weeks. I was like, okay, you know what? No, don't bother. It's fine. I'll just fucking use Amazon.
Right? That's what they're doing.
I'm trying to support you. I'm trying to support you, and you're going to take 2 weeks to deliver, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I'm ordering locally because you have the part. I know they used to do that at the auto parts store all the time. I'd go to O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, we don't have a fuel pump for your car, but we can get another one in like, on Wednesday, like 3 days out or whatever. And I'm like, but dude, the reason I'm at your store is because if I order it on Amazon, it won't be here till tomorrow. I need it like today. Like what can I do? Oh,
that's why I've come into the world of the atoms in order to try to get this done faster. Yeah. And I never did any mail order stuff because I could honestly, I couldn't bear the thought of having to wait for it. I just couldn't get my head around it. I couldn't spend the money before I saw it. I had to be at the store buying it. It was like, as a kid, I could never do it.
They pretty much killed all the reasons why I would buy something local. Well, not all, but most of the reasons why I'd buy something locally, because it used to be like when you ordered stuff online, if it showed up and it was broken, you'd have to ship it back on your own dime, get an RMA, wait for them to replace it or refund you on your card, and then go buy another one. So remember, there was always a risk. Like if you bought it at a store, you just go to the store, give it back to them your receipt, they give you another one, boom. It's like, an hour later, you got a new product. And so now they've rectified that with most of the stores, like Amazon. If you buy something on Amazon or buy something on Costco online, they literally just give you a free shipping label, like online. And if the second you ship it, they just drop ship the new one, or they'll charge it to your card, ship it to you, and then the second they receive the broken one, they just credit you back. So it's like
this that audio thing that I did the other day. Yeah. I got it one day. That same day, I tried it out for the day, and I was like, you know what? I just don't want to deal with this. Sent it back that day. So literally it arrived and got mailed back the same day.
That's wild.
So
that's wild. Like Western Digital, one of my favorite experiences as far as like returning products. And again, when I say favorite, I don't mean the product was good. It was absolute shit. It was a Western Digital green. They don't even make them anymore because they're that shit of hard drive. And
you know why? Because I bought them all. I've got all of them.
Dude, so did I. They were so cheap. Dude, you could buy like a 1 terabyte drive for like half the price of like the WD Black, half that size. Like for 500 gig, you get a terabyte drive for like half the price. So I bought a bunch of them and made the mistake of putting them into NAS. That's my problem. It even says not to do that. But every time I did an RMA for those drives, one drive I RMA'd 8 times over the course of a year and a half. 8 times, one drive. And every single time it says reason for return, and I click other, died in my NAS. Because I didn't want them to I figured they could probably check some firmware on it or something to figure out what the hell it was connecting to. So I was honest. I said, in NAS, they never once questioned it. They always drop shipped a new drive on my credit card. It would show up. I'd take out the old drive with the bad sectors, put the new drive in, throw it in the box, and just mail it back to them. And they just kept doing it over and over and over again for these drives. And I eventually just got tired of them, pulled them all out and stuck them in a box in my attic. But I was like, holy crap, that is some good return policy right there, where you can buy something online. And the cool thing is you don't have to keep the packaging around, because they send you the replacement, and the replacement has all the packaging and the anti-static bag. So you just transfer it into the packaging it came in, seal it up, and send it back to them. And that way you don't have to do that shit. Like when you order stuff online, you'd keep your box for your TV, right? It's like you order something on Amazon or something.
It used to be that easy, right? Yeah. Amazon has changed that recently. I mean, I remember being most impressed when I saw it happen with Zappos. When we lived in the States, my favorite store was Zappos, because you just order 4 pairs of shoes, find the ones you liked, and then send the rest of them back.
Yep. Yeah. And they were good about that. They would just I remember secretly upgrade you to 2-day shipping.
Without telling you, it would suddenly show up. It would show up earlier than you expected, or they told you to show up. Yeah.
I love that.
I remember them. I remember being impressed with them. So I'm guessing that Amazon didn't have it at that point.
Yeah.
I don't think at first. I think that's part of why Amazon ended up buying Zappos.
But they bought them?
Oh, yeah. Zappos is an Amazon property now. Or has been for a long time. But
have you guys ever ordered stuff from Monoprice?
Yeah.
No, what's that?
So Monoprice is literally
and stuff.
Yeah, it's good for cables. You can buy a TV mount for a wall for $15, the same one that you'd spend $150 for at Costco. So they're super cheap. They're cable. Now, don't get me wrong. The quality of their shit is pretty horrendous. I bought a million cables from them, and they're.
Do I look like I'm about quality?
Just, as long as they're not cables, you're unplugging and plugging in 100,000 times, you'll be just fine. And you can buy them for 99 cents, where they'd normally be $30. But the thing I liked about Monoprice is anytime I got a bad cable, because I used to order all my cables from them, so I've probably ordered $1,000 of cable from them over the last 10 years. And every single time I got a cable that was bad, or it would just break after a while, like, you know, I'd wear out there'd be no stress relief on it or whatever, so it'd break at the tip. And every time I went on their website and I do an RMA for it, they wouldn't even have me send the cable back. Like they just send you a new cable. Like you just go on there and be like, oh, cable broke, RMA reason. They just send you a new cable and then they just tell you to throw it away.
That's what Amazon does with their LED bulbs. We ordered a bunch of LED bulbs and one of them didn't work. And they said, don't bother sending it back. We'll just send you a new box of 3 of them.
Yeah, and it just makes me wonder, like, if companies are doing stuff like this, like, how many people are gaming it and just saying the thing's broken, even though it isn't, just to get, like, a free second one or third one? And how do they, like, figure out?
And how much money is Amazon making that they can afford to do this?
I'll admit that I have bought some. So I've had a thing.
Oh, shit. Criminal confessions.
That broke. I bought a new one on Amazon and returned the broken one. And so essentially got a free one.
You are a monster.
New free one.
You are a monster.
Man. So that little thing, ticker tape on the bottom of your thing should really say, you know, please report to the FBI. This is the number to call.
Exactly.
What is that? What would that be? Petty theft at best. Please, a misdemeanor. I'd get theft in the third. Believe me, because I've already been charged with that once before.
So the film industry is all about this. The film industry goes and buys clothes. They film the actors in them, and then they return them to the store.
No. Are you shitting me?
All the freaking time.
Fucking $1 million production, and they're just like taking the shit back.
Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
My God. I never would have thought that would be a thing.
All the time. Yeah, it's all the time. I'm like shocked by that. And then of course you get doubles. You have to get all sorts of doubles in case your actor steps in dog shit or something while they're performing. But so you've got like multiple pairs of shoes and things. And then of course those just get returned at the end. I know because I keep trying to buy them. They're like, no, we'll just return them. It's better for us.
That is wild. I never would have guessed that like the movie industry, like somebody who's that like public would do something like that's wild. But I guess it's
not everyone.
I mean,
a lot of the productions.
It's technically not illegal because all these stores say like you have 30-day return policy. Like if you don't like it for any reason or whatever. So I guess that's any reason. Like I'm done with my production. I don't want to wear it ever again. So like I guess I'm done with it.
And free advertising. I mean, the reality is if someone sees it and likes it in a show, you go like, yeah, I got it from so and so. I mean,
since we're all confessing of our petty larceny crimes, I guess I can confess to I did something similar to you, Ox, but it was pre-internet. And this was Kmart. Like I went to a garage sale and I bought a hard drive at a garage sale that a guy had up there, and it was only like $10, and I had $10 on me. So I was like, oh, I'm going to buy this hard drive and take a risk on it. Cause I think it was like 100 megabyte hard. This is way back when it was a Mac store. And I bought this hard drive and I take it home and I plug it in and it's like clunk, 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 clunk. And it was out of warranty, but I called around and I found Kmart still had them in stock. So I went to Kmart and I bought the drive for like, I want to say it was, I paid $10 for it. I think the drive there was like $250. It was expensive as shit. And I bought the drive. I took it home. I took the shrink wrap off. I literally just opened the box, took that drive out, stuck the shitty one I got from the garage sale into the box, took it back to Kmart, and said, oh, I opened this up and it doesn't fit in my computer. And I was back like literally like an hour later. I went straight home. I should have just brought the box and swapped it in the car, but I didn't. I went home, took it out of the computer, stuck it back in the box, drove back to Kmart, and they were like, no questions asked. As long as you got the receipt, they opened up just to make sure there's a hard drive inside. And they slid up, put the receipt in it, like took it back and gave me a refund for it. And I was like, okay, sweet. Now I got a working drive. And the guy that sold it to me at the garage sale for $10, he's like, oh, I don't know if it works. Well, why are you selling it for $10 instead of like 150 or 175? He obviously knew it was broken. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to be the one stuck holding the bag. So yeah, I went and actually got another one from Kmart. And I'll admit, like when I did that, I felt so dirty for like the longest time. Like I was looking over my shoulder. Like I thought the cops were going to come and get me. I was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that, man. That was like really bad. And it's like, they just did. You know what they did? It's Kmart just puts it in the box, throws it in like an RMA pile, and ends up just going back to the company. Oh yeah, like it literally just goes back. I mean, a broken drive, it's gonna find its way back one way or another. But yeah, now they do shit like serial number checking and stuff. They used to never do that back then. So like Costco's another one that has an amazing return policy. That's why I buy stuff at Costco. Great. Dude, they don't even care if it's missing parts. I've returned so many things to Costco that are like missing power adapters, all the screws and shit to like mount it to the wall are missing out of the package. And they open it up, and as long as like the bulk of it, like the picture on the front of the box, like that piece is in there, they don't care. Like I even told them, I was like, hey, do you want me to go home and get the power adapters for this? And they're like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. No, it's all good. It's all good. They go throw it on the pile. I saw
a woman return in the fall, a deck set of chairs and umbrellas and everything that she'd obviously just used for the entire time and then just brought them back at the end of the season and got a full refund. No question.
That's pretty raw. Yeah. Like, come on.
The problem is if too many people abuse it, I guess we're going to lose. You'll just lose the privilege. But, but I'm guessing, again, the reality is you're going to shop at those stores, right? So so you screwed them over for whatever the thing was. You still bought a hard drive off them, right? You know
it's like Costco. I think one year I spent like $13,000 at Costco. Like, I mean, it was like I don't normally spend that much, but it was like on my highest spending year, it was like $13,000. And it's like, if you think about it, you're like, I maybe returned like 3 things totaling like maybe $600. And you're like, it's no wonder they can offer that service because they win in the end, right? The house always wins. If they didn't, they wouldn't do it. But it's just wild. Like, and they'll do stuff. Like I saw a guy in Costco, he brought in a TV. And I'm watching this whole transaction go down, and you could tell he was returning it like after Super Bowl. He was doing the same thing as everybody else. And Costco's like, oh, we have a policy change. When I was in line, like, you can't unfortunately like return TVs, but we can replace it, like if something's wrong with it. And the guy's like, oh man, I didn't know that when I bought it. Like, oh damn, like really? Like I can't do that. And they're like, okay, hold on, let me get a manager. Manager comes over and just like overrides it on the cash register and gives him a full refund for his TV. And I was like, wow, so they're even just like going against their store policy to like make a customer happy just because they're like a member. I'm sure they're like looking in the computer and they're like, oh, this guy actually buys a lot of shit here, so let's just bend the rules.
I've heard of stories of people like abusing Costco's return policies, but they can check. They can. There's a big list attached to your account of things you've purchased and things that you've returned. And if you get a little too much with it, I've heard of them revoking your membership. Like they'll just boop. You are no longer a member.
About that with Amazon because I send a lot of stuff back to Amazon. Like Amazon, I get cables and I'm like,
Amazon really doesn't care.
Money anyways. They're making their Prime on me anyways.
I want to say that it was like one teenager or like a couple like buddies. They had made over like 14 grand buying stuff on Amazon, returning the box full of rocks of the appropriate weight of the box. Like they get something for 10 pounds, they put 10 pounds worth of rocks into the box and sent it back, and then would sell the product on Facebook. So they don't care. Like they
must have gone after them though.
No, they got caught. They got caught eventually because they were bragging too much and stuff. They got greedy doing it too much. Right. But like their open box stuff, like their what is it, Amazon warehouse or whatnot, like they don't care.
No, Amazon, I think they have a policy at Amazon that if it's under a certain dollar amount, like they don't even waste the human resources to verify. It literally gets chucked in a pallet and sent off to a recycling plant.
I believe it.
And I watched there's a documentary on this where it's like, Amazon is like one of the most wasteful businesses on the planet because like most of the shit that gets returned to them doesn't get resold, doesn't get refurbished, doesn't get sent back to the company. It just literally goes straight to the landfill or to a recycling company. Wow. And it's wild because they don't care because it costs them more money because of the rate of returns just being such a large corporation. It would cost them more money to like employ people to like go through every box and make sure everything's there and repackage it and resell it. And they'll also do stuff like where they sell these pallets. Have you seen that before? There's third parties that buy pallets of returned merchandise from Amazon, like by the pound.
I was going to say there must be like a market for coming in and picking up that stuff.
There is for sure. There absolutely is, and I think that's probably how most people are getting caught. Is these people will buy a pallet. They'll get it and they'll open up the boxes and all the shit will be missing. And then they'll complain about it to Amazon and be like, hey, listen, I bought this pallet. That's why they usually sell their pallets as like blind, right? Like you don't get to like go through the pallet and figure out what's in it and stuff like that when you buy it. You're basically just buying a lot like at an auction. For the cheap stuff. I think for other stuff you can buy like I saw one guy who bought a pallet of like headphones. Like they just had like all the returned headphones like in a pallet wrap and you could buy it for like $1,000 or whatever. But it usually has like $10,000 or $20,000 worth of headphones. So you buy it and your risk is very minimal to just part it out and sell it on eBay. So there's a lot of people that do that. They just resell Amazon pallets. And there was even a company that I found that you could just it was like really shady. I can't remember the name of it, but I think Logan Paul like advertised it or something like that.
I've seen a few YouTubers like, hey, I bought this mystery pallet. Let's see what's in it.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. I would do that if it were, I mean, oh my God, like $100 of mystery stuff. Like that'd be
that's like
cool.
My geek trash. I go around doing the geek trash all the time. That's like, I always look at the online auctions and stuff. I love that stuff.
The problem is they cherry pick it though. That's what sucks is like they'll say that they got an Amazon pallet and like you just receive a random item. If you pay this much, you get a random item. And it's like, no, they're fully aware of what they're sending you. So it's like they're making sure that they send you something that's worth less than what you're sending. And then they're like, oh, here's the people that all got like a good one, because every once in a while they'll throw a good one in there like a lottery. So that they'll get a good testimonial, or they'll just pay somebody like Logan Paul, where every single box he ordered is like 10 times worth what he paid for it. And it's like, that's not a very good business model, because if they were doing that, they would just sell the shit on eBay and make 10 times as much money. Like, it doesn't make sense. And but it was bad. Like, some of the people were getting like authentic boxes for like Beats by Dre, and they'd open it up and there'd be like an old pair of like rotted out Audio-Technica headphones in there. And their policy was like, absolutely no returns, all sales are final. This, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's truly random. And it's like, it's not truly random, because somebody's like literally picking that off a pallet and deciding whether they're gonna send it to you or not.
Yeah.
So a little bizarre. So you guys want to talk about the Microsoft hack again?
What?
So
what is this?
So here, let me look.
It's actually being weaponized now.
Yeah. So you guys all know, like, a while back, like, Microsoft got hit with a huge hack that they think, a million backdoors could have been installed in Microsoft's infrastructure, because they basically got in through a third-party company and then attacked a bunch of other third-party companies. I can't remember what was the name of the company that got attacked. Do you guys remember? Like, it was basically a company that does security. It was a company that does security for a living, and they literally were the entry point that ended up infecting all the systems of their clients. Oh, why can't I remember
this being a thing. I can't remember who.
SolarWinds, that's what it was. Yeah,
okay,
so SolarWinds is the company. So now there's another Microsoft hack right now, and Microsoft is now warning about these email attacks, because apparently they've had an attack on Microsoft Exchange servers. And this attack has compromised more than 30,000 Exchange servers around the world. And let me see what it says as far as the attack. So this first time I'm going through it. It says, this is an active threat. The White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, said Friday, everybody running these servers, government, private sector, academia, needs to patch right now, because there's a 0-day patch for it. Microsoft said hackers had used its mail servers to attack their targets. It is reported that tens of thousands of U.S. government organizations may be impacted. The U.S. has long accused the Chinese government of cyber espionage, something Beijing denies. Ms. Psaki told reporters that the White House was concerned that there are a large number of victims here, and said that the vulnerabilities found on Microsoft servers could have far-reaching impacts. Let me see if I can get that. Yeah, right?
Yeah, it might.
So the Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center attributed the attacks to high confidence to the state-sponsored threat actor based in China, which has the name of Hafnium. The tech giant said Hafnium had tried to steal information from groups such as infectious disease researchers, law firms, higher education institutions, and defense contractors. A spokesman for the Chinese government told Reuters, or is it Reuters? Reuters? I always get it wrong. Reuters news agency that the country was not behind the attack. Beijing has repeatedly rejected U.S. accusations of cybercrime. Let's be fair. Nobody's going to admit to it, okay? Oh, you caught us. Oh, it was us.
You got us. Like, damn it.
Yeah,
damn it.
That's not how hacking works.
Getting away with that.
I think it's funny how they even report on that. Like, oh, we asked Russia if they did it, and they said no. So, like, why wouldn't we believe them? More than 20,000 organizations have been compromised in the U.S., with many more infected worldwide, Reuters reported. Brian Krebs, an industrial expert and blogger, put the number higher, citing multiple security threats. At least 30,000 organizations across the United States, including a significant number of small businesses, towns, cities, and local governments, have over the last few days been hacked by an unusually aggressive Chinese cyber espionage unit that is focused on stealing emails from victims and organizations. He wrote in a blog post. Okay, so apparently this is like that. The hack is they're gaining access to everybody's private emails. Mr. Krebs warned attack had dramatically stepped up since Microsoft's announcement, because obviously they're trying to get as much as they can before everybody patches. But you'll know that it takes everybody forever to patch. Like, if a day one patch comes out, like, you're not going to see that on every single affected system for like a year.
Like, and they're going to be in there anyways. But they're going to be in there after the patch anyways, right? I mean,
right?
Like, they can use phishing attacks. They will be in any of those accounts they want to be in by now.
Yeah, and the thing is, they've gathered enough information from those accounts that they could probably do a significant social engineering attack, right?
That's it.
Yeah, so they already know everything about your email. So even if they patch it, now they're just going to use the social engineering approach and be like, hey, I can prove I'm that person because I have all their emails. What were you going to say, Aux?
Oh, there's this guy, Donovan's Wiki. He's like, this is why I use a Mac. As if Macs don't get hacked.
Yeah,
like,
no, Apple is target of hacks quite a bit.
Come on. Actually, and we're talking just recently, even there was a big malware thing, like a couple thousands of Macs all have the same malware thing that got snuck in from some update or whatever. Like, it happens.
Yeah, I'm actually planning on doing this is funny. This is all happening right now, but I've been planning and working on doing a video series for YouTube, because I want to start making video content on YouTube again, not just live streams. And so I want to start telling my stories from working at Microsoft for 15 years, because I'm outside of my NDA now. I haven't been there for like 8 years. So I want to do all the stories. And one of the stories I'm going to tell is of when Microsoft got infected with a virus that literally took out the entire campus for a week. and it took multiple attempts to purge it from the systems. And luckily, it was a very non-destructive virus. Like, it did do some destructive things, but it wasn't like one that gave people backdoor access to everything.
Right.
Which that would have been catastrophic if that was the case. But it literally affected everything. It affected the build system, the source code servers. Like, it was almost catastrophic. It was like almost a world-ending event for Microsoft, and I witnessed the whole thing. And it's so funny to think that a large corporation like that, you'd think there'd be an emphasis on security, but the whole reason this was possible is because of everybody be having lazy security inside of the company. They only cared about security outside.
Did you hear about the SolarWinds thing?
Yeah.
Did you hear about this? Yeah. About how they got in there they're like, oh no, it was an intern. We let an intern set the password. I mean,
what? Come on.
Social engineering is
you're president of a company, and you're like going to blame it on a fucking intern? Like, that is so lame.
But here's the thing. Security at Microsoft is so relaxed. And again, I can't speak for today because I'm not actually there anymore. But when I was there, it's like I had accounts that had high level access to shares everywhere, all over the internet, including the entire source code base for Windows. So it would be trivial for, me to go click on a link on a website and get a virus, and that virus goes, oh, you have access to these shares. I'm going to go through and just start adding text and fucking with code and putting bugs in the code and putting backdoors in the code. And then next time the operating system builds, nobody would notice. Like, there's too much noise going in and out of the system. So you could literally just write something that says, oh, go through the source code and look for any place where this API is called and replace it with an API call to an older flawed API that has a backdoor in it. And the code would literally just build, and as long as it didn't break or blow up in their face during testing, that shit would ship, like, no problem. So you have to ask yourself, like, how many backdoors are in the Windows source code that Microsoft does not know about because those individual check-ins were never validated and never approved? Or if they looked at them, it was no big deal because it was like API was replaced with an underscore variant or an earlier version of the API, and they don't question it because they're the developer that checked it in or whatever. They're just like, oh, they must know what they're doing. So they just let it flow through, and as long as it doesn't break, that's the thing is at Microsoft, the mantra isn't, is it right? It's just, does it break? And if it doesn't break and blow up, it ships. It's that simple. Like if I was an irate person that worked at Microsoft and I just wanted to I could go into any of the source code, any of the virtual build labs or any of the feature branches and just check in a block of code into some arbitrary thing. And if the manager for that project wasn't like on his game and checking each line of each check-in, which they never do. They're lazy as fuck and there's too much bandwidth coming through. They're just gonna click approve. And as long as it builds and it doesn't break, like the build system doesn't break and reject the build, it'll forward integrate up the branches, get to WinMain, and eventually become a Windows Insider build. So, and until a customer...
Is it time for a new operating system? I mean, is it time to sort of like move to Linux or something? I mean, do you think we're getting to that point where this is just going to have so many holes in it that it's just not worth...
It doesn't matter. If it's a matter of market share, right? The people target Windows because 95% of everybody uses Windows. If 95% of everybody uses Linux, they'll figure out ways to hack Linux. Like it doesn't matter. Whatever's most popular is going to be the one that they try to break the most.
Keep in mind that with Linux,
that's where the payoff is.
Yeah. So open source is a double-edged sword because one, open source usually means that you have enough eyes on a product that if you notice any bugs, you can fix them before they become an issue. But there's another problem with open source, and that is there is so much churn coming in from so many people everywhere that unless people's eyes are on a particular location when it's building and it's shipping, it'd be relatively easy to sneak something in. And not only that, it'd be even easier for outside attackers to go analyze the code that like nobody else is analyzing because there's been no churn there and they don't care, and find ways to attack it using its blueprints against it. And so it's like the white box attack versus the black box attack. With Windows, you have to fuzz things, you have to poke things, you have to trace things, you have to figure out how to get past or to expose a bug and find the bug in the first place. With Linux, no, you can literally just go through thousands and thousands of lines of code, find any place where a deprecated API is used, or maybe somebody didn't do a value check that you can do a buffer overrun, and you can identify those things if you're a good developer and exploit them. And it may be code that nobody's looked at for years and years and years until it's actually exploited. So Linux is only safe because it's really, there's not a lot of eyes on it because there isn't a huge market share for workstation machines. And then the servers that are running it, they're usually heavily firewalled in an infrastructure where they're incredibly minimalistic. They're only installing the modules that they need to use. They're protecting the computer behind a firewall so things can't connect to it in any way that they don't control. So there's a lot more infrastructure protection in place for the server enterprises. So Linux gets away, scot-free there. But make no mistake, if Linux was on like every desktop computer and like your mom and pa were using it, they're just going to be checking shit and installing modules and downloading stuff. And all it takes is downloading one piece of software.
Again. I see.
Yeah, all you need for a vulnerability is one piece of flawed software. Like a good example is Skype. Skype is actually a piece of software that Microsoft owns. People started installing Skype. Skype started leaking the real IP address onto the internet, and then people started targeting those IP addresses to try to hack into the computers that were running Skype because they assumed that because they had Skype installed that they were just a regular ma and pa level user, and it would make them an easier target than just scanning every IP on the internet arbitrarily and trying to break in. And it was largely successful. And if they couldn't break in, then they start doing denial of service attacks to slow the machines down and kick them off and cause trouble for the ISP and then ransom the ISPs. So there's lots of different ways that you can basically make your box more vulnerable, and not all of them are code flaws either. Social engineering is probably the #1 method used for hacking today, because all you need is one good convincing social engineer to get past one employee with high level access at a company, and you've now breached the entire security model, no matter how bulletproof it was.
Children. Children, the best way in, if you want to get into it, you want to get into like some CEO's email account or something, target the kids accounts, because they're going to have they're going to be installing freaking Microsoft with Minecraft mods, and
blows my mind to hear my kids tell me that they share their passwords, their social media passwords, with their friends. Oh yeah, my friend Abby's got she's logged in on my Instagram account on her phone. Why are you insane? Like, do you understand? Like, that's the level of trust, the bullshittery that she could do to you if she decided to get pissed at you one day. Like,
she's not looking after it as well as you are, and of course it's not her account, so she cares less about the privacy and the protection.
She could lock you out of the account, start posting all kind of horrible shit, and then now it's you.
You need to lock those kids down. Actually, you got to lay down the law, man.
The kids have phones from their dad. It's on their dad's account. I'm not responsible. I can protect my network because they're on my network. I will throttle them and turn off the Wi-Fi
too.
But
that's my fear. Is the kids come over, they all log into the Wi-Fi. What's the password? What's the password? I'm like, that's why I've set up a special account.
Yeah, I'm upgrading to the same network. I'm upgrading to Ubiquity here soon.
Oh, are you? So I want to do this too. I want to do this too. So you think I should go Ubiquity?
It's easy. It's super easy. It's expensive. It's I'm looking at dropping probably a little over $500 for a new modem and the Wi-Fi system, but it's so robust. It's so even just their home level stuff is so nice. You can jump real big and go like their commercial level stuff, but that's more money but more flexibility too. No, not
what
Dream Machine.
Sense? Can I use PF? I mean, I was kind of
if you want to dig into, that would be Jerry. I never played around with that at all.
Yeah, I love PF Sense. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's also not like completely inapproachable. So depending on what you want to do with it, it can be pretty easy to set up. It's been rock solid. Like I've had a 2-month uptime without a reboot, and I only rebooted because I installed an update. Like it is absolutely rock solid software.
I mean, I'm not willing to play with audio interfaces for very long, but I would be willing to play with networks because that's something I'm curious about. Whereas just
well, PF Sense lets you do things that nothing else will. Like you're not going to be able to do the shit PF Sense does with Ubiquity or
but they're not
Linksys
cheap either, right? The PF Sense routers are expensive, are they not?
You can make your own. Make your own. It's just
another PC that just sits there.
It's just a BSD distribution. So anything that'll run BSD, you could run on a Raspberry Pi.
I was going to say you could make a PF Sense router essentially out of a little Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, you don't even need a Wi-Fi access point. Like so for me,
the way I down to like packet level stuff, even like you can block inspection, like hardcore. Like no, you can't even talk to TikTok on my network because it sniffs at the packet and goes, nope, can't go there. Like
you could literally go in PF Sense and create like the level of packet inspection it could do. You could literally go into a packet, find text, and replace it in real time if you wanted to. Now, granted, there's a lot of stuff that's HTTPS now, so PF Sense would see it as encrypted traffic, and then you're not going to do deep packet inspection on encrypted traffic. But anything that's unencrypted, which is very little nowadays, it can definitely intervene on. And
it'd be fun to freak the kid out, though.
Yeah,
your father is watching. Just throw that in.
You can even install a service that'll do the HTTPS handshake from the router, so that if somebody tries to go to a website through the browser, your router will basically just invalidate the certificate do an encrypted connection, then decrypt it, and then you can do deep level packet inspection for every computer that's in your house. But it'll show up in every browser as, oh, this is an invalid certificate, and you'll get the little warning that's like, oh, this web page you're going to has been intercepted, or you know, you'll basically
get that half the time, anyways.
Yeah. So actually, that's not good. that means your ISP's probably fucking with shit.
I'm sure it is. It's Bell, for God's sake. I mean,
So pfSense is super, super powerful. The Ubiquity stuff is nice because it's really easy to set up. It's in a mesh network, so you want to make your network bigger, put some more pucks on the ceiling. Like it's really, really simple to expand your network. As a matter of fact, I still have Adam's old setup. So if you want that aux, it's not 802.11n. It's I think it's 8 AG, or it's the last generation. It's not the new stuff. I think it's N. It's N, not AG. So as long as you're okay with just 802.11n or whatever, I still have like, I think 3 or 4 of his access points and everything. And I never got around to deploying it. So if you want it, I'm just going to stick with the pfSense and the wireless that I have.
Okay.
So
I'll give it a shot if you're just.
Yeah, no. If it doesn't work out, just kick it back to me, because I do eventually want to set up a Ubiquity setup. But if I'm not using it in the meantime, there's no reason for it to be sitting here if it can help you out. So
I've been meaning to come up that way to get some stuff from Adam anyway.
Yeah, I'll toss you the 3D printer and the bag of Ubiquity, and you can go to town. Because I'd love to see that stuff set up and working anyways. So
it's worth trying it out at least. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Trust me.
Do you replace the high-speed router that your provider is giving you?
That's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna buy a third-party modem. Because the Comcast gives it's a modem router, Wi-Fi router combo thing.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
It drives me nuts, the lack of fidelity to my settings. I can't even change the broadcast channel. It says, "Oh no, we'll take care of that automatically for you." And then I do Wi-Fi sniffer, and I'm like, why are there 12 other networks on channel 11? I should be on channel 4, and I can't even change that, and I can't.
I always recommend go with your own modem, because I've never had a modem like given to me by the ISP that's as fast as the modem you can buy. Yeah, never once. Like for ping times, God, I went
do that with fiber. Like if you got fiber or something, though, you need to get yeah.
No, they make fiber, or it's like a converter box. It takes, if it's actual like fiber out of the wall. If it's fiber to the home, it's still coax out of your wall. And so, but yeah, they make all that stuff is purchasable third party.
Do you need any of the information from the
you'll call up your provider and say, hey, I bought my own modem, there's some numbers on the box that they'll ask for, and that's it.
Yeah, you give them the MAC address. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And they provision the modem.
One.
Yep.
Yeah.
The new one, and they do that for you.
Yeah, I've always owned my own modems, because every time I've gotten a modem from my ISP, it like literally has a ping time that's like 20 milliseconds higher than if I just go buy like a gaming modem that costs like $80 and they provision it. And the other thing that really pissed me off is I got a gigabit connection, and for the longest time I had them come out to my house 3 times. I paid for them to come out and like do signal tests and everything, because I could only get 600 megabit. No matter how hard I tried with this RS surfboard shit that they like leased me. And so I took that shit, chucked it in the garbage, went and bought this Asus gaming modem, like nothing special. I think it was like $80, right? It was like a middle of the road modem. I plugged it in, I called them up, I had them provision it, and I go to speed test, and I'm getting 996 megabit per second, almost my full gigabit. And my ping times dropped from like 26 down to 8. Just by changing the modem. Literally, that's all I did. And they reprovisioned my modem, and it saved me like $11 a month, which is what I was paying to lease their shitty modem. And so 8 months my new modem's paid for, and I mean it's already been paid for twice over, and it works so much better. So I recommend that. And plus I can log into it. That's the cool thing about it, is I can log into it and see what channels they're using, what the signal to noise ratio is, all that shit. Whereas the modem they gave me I couldn't log into because they kept the password.
Yep. I log into mine because I watched the guy install it.
Oh, there you go. That's a way to do it.
That's the beauty of being just like contagiously curious. Is you're like, oh, how does that work? What does that do? What does this do? And they're like, oh, for God's sake, just shut up. Or they go like, oh, it's really cool. Do this. Either way, they're distracted. And they tell you, they basically give it all away.
The cool thing with pfSense though is you can actually, if you want to, you can take either a Raspberry Pi. I'd recommend doing like a PC build though, because if you're doing any deep packet inspection or advanced routing, you don't want to add lag.
So cheap. It doesn't have to be very powerful. It's cheap.
Yeah, no, I'm literally using an i3, a Dell i3 that has 4 gig of RAM in it, and I've never maxed out the memory, the CPU, or anything on it. Never maxed it out even for a second, even doing deep packet inspection. So it's more than enough computer.
Multi Ethernet. card of some sort, I'm assuming?
Yep, I put in, so the way I have my network set up is it has 4 Ethernet ports. So I bought 2 2-port cards and I stuck them in there. So I have 4 cards, 4 ports plus the onboard port. And then the onboard port is where I have the modem come in. So the modem comes into that. And then it goes out of 2 of the ports to 2 of the VLANs that I have on my network. So upstairs and downstairs. And then I have another one that goes out to my Wi-Fi access point. And then I changed my Wi-Fi access point from router mode to gateway mode. Or sorry, the other way around. Sorry, gateway to router mode. And what that does is it just makes it a dumb antenna. So all the DHCP and IP assignments and all the network management comes from my pfSense box. Whereas normally your Wi-Fi access point creates its own subnet. Now it doesn't do that. It disables all the functionality. Like when I log into my Wi-Fi modem, all it is just a dummy that passes through the wireless connections to my pfSense router and lets it do all the routing. And doing that.
I also want my IoT stuff. I want to get rid of, like, there's just so many. Again, my kids online, like, oh, look, I can change the color of the lights. I'm like, oh shit, what have you downloaded?
It'll tell you everything.
I went through and so like the Comcast box, it lets you pause devices on the network so like they can't go anywhere. And like I just took a minute a few days ago and like I knew this. I set this stuff up, but like the refrigerator, the fucking I think the washer or the dryer is on there. There's the Nest is on, which I want the Nest out there so that like I'm coming home and I can like turn on the heat.
Yeah, that's what you. That's the whole point.
But yeah, there was a bunch of weird little stuff that I'm like, what is this? Nope, you can't talk to the internet. What is this? Nope. If I can't easily identify what you are, you don't get to communicate. And then if it causes me trouble, I can figure it out.
Right.
Yeah,
so something suddenly stopped working, and you're like, "Oh, okay, I get it. It's that's my Ring doorbell is not calling China every 2 minutes." Yeah,
and pfSense, you can actually go in and look at the ARP table. You can look at the DHCP table. You can even set up notification events where it'll email you if a new device requests a lease. They give you the MAC address, so you can set up all that stuff on here, so you know when a device is coming on the network. You even know when somebody's unsuccessfully tried to connect.
That's great.
So if somebody tries to unsuccessfully try to connect to my network, it'll actually report to me like in a little log. It says, oh, that somebody entered the wrong password on this time. And this is the MAC address. And it'll even go look up the MAC address and tell you what the brand is and the model of the device that's trying to connect, whether it's an iPhone like 11. And so, and you can invalidate stuff really easy. That's one thing I like. You can go in the DHCP table and just invalidate an IP address. And not only will it invalidate it, it'll also block all the traffic coming from it if it's already allocated. So if you want to kick something off your network, it's like one click and it's gone. And you can even ban the MAC address. So if you don't want them coming back, like somebody, you know, gets on your, like somebody comes over one time and they're on your network and you're like, okay, I don't want them sitting out in my driveway and using my internet for shitty stuff. You can basically ban that MAC address from ever getting another DHCP assignment, even if they have the right password.
And timed access too. I was looking into the Ubiquity stuff, and it's like you can temporarily have a guest network, so like it'll only exist for 2 hours or something, however long you set, and then even from there you can set a certain device to be kicked off. It's like a lease, basically, like IP lease. They'll get kicked off your network after a certain amount of time,
so they get their own network. They get their own network.
You could set it up that way, Yeah,
you do parental controls. Like David, like if you didn't want Bradley being on after like 10 p.m., you can actually go into all of his MAC addresses and reject all traffic from that IP address after 10 p.m. and then resume it at like 8 p.m.
And then I get a giant fucking cellular bill because that's what I did. I did that. And then all of a sudden we got this, the next bill, we got this. I was like, what the fuck? Like $700? What the hell with the data?
Hey, I can tell you how to fix that if you're willing to break some laws.
There's cell phone blockers you can get.
There you go.
I have one.
Which
I don't use it though. I don't use it. I've never plugged it in. I just have one for educational purposes. Slight change of course.
No, change it. With the kid, we had a huge row about a week or so ago, and I ended up like nailing down the times that he's allowed to play. It's made a huge difference.
Oh yeah,
like he's happier, I'm happier,
dude.
Like because he knows where he stands, right? Because they're totally addicted. Absolutely.
The times where we've taken, especially the younger one, we've taken her phone away, or like I'll just say, nope, you don't get network access because we have terrible cell phone signal out here. Yeah, man, it's like flipping a switch. She's just, it's like her real personality is coming through, and not just like the reflection of the content that she's consuming.
I walked into the room. He's reading a book. I was like, oh my God. I rushed downstairs. I was like, Jane, he's got a book. I haven't seen him with a book in like 4 years.
You're like, don't disturb him. Shh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a book on video games, but that's not the point. I mean, the fact is that he was still, I don't care. You read whatever the hell you want as long as it's reading.
You know, my son just found his first addiction. Like, literally, he says it's an addiction. Like, I've never seen my son use this word before. Virtual reality.
Oh, right.
I've tried to get him interested in virtual reality like a million times with like the Valve Index, with my Quest F. Now I give him this like Quest 1 that was sent to me by a fan in the mail. And he literally runs the battery dead, puts it back on the charger, waits for 3 hours, puts it back on, stays in it for like another 2 hours, then goes, puts it on the charger. And he comes, he's like, oh my God, I got to play VR. Can I please play VR? I have never seen him, not even his Nintendo Switch. I've never seen him so attached to it. And he just does the same thing. It's basically this rec room experience where you go in and there's other kids.
Guys playing the other day.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's so addictive. It is so much fun. Because I ended up buying an Oculus Quest 2. The new version of the Quest 2? I got the Quest 2, yeah, and I love it. The resolution on it is so crisp. It makes this $1,000 headset look antiquated. It's insane how good it looks. Now, the downside is, of course, it's tied to Facebook. So if you hate Facebook like everybody else, it sucks because you do have to have a connected to Facebook account. But that's also why it's only like $299 versus $1,000.
In your face.
Basically,
they're on your face. Doesn't that make you nervous? So that's like the digital equivalent of like a face hugger.
It is
scanning your retinas.
Yeah,
it literally is.
Where you look. Oh man,
dude, it's such a refined experience though. And the funny thing is, I thought my son, or even me, like there's certain VR experiences where it makes me a little queasy. The Quest 2, nothing. Even in those experiences that used to make me queasy, I don't get queasy. So I don't know what the Quest 2 is doing that makes it so much like more comfortable to stay in for a long period of time. But even like my Valve Index, like that thing starts fatiguing me after like about a half an hour. But the Quest, I can stay in there for like 2 hours. I take off the headset and I don't feel any different. No elevator legs. It's very bizarre. And it has to do with, I think the rec room, the way that they did the graphics, the way they designed it was to make it like really, really easy on kids. But it really shines through. Like I played last night for 2 hours. I was chasing my kid around, shooting him with paintball guns. And in like this little world where these tiny little people running around in a huge super scale bedroom, like jumping in drawers and, you know, and like climbing under beds and stuff like that and shooting paintball guns at each other. And it's this wildly simplistic game. Like the graphics in it are insanely simple, but it's so much fun. It's like you just keep wanting to play. You never want to put it down. And
hey, like Beat Saber, I found that with Beat Saber. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. And there's movement. Involved in it.
Yep. And the Quest has no screen door, zero screen door. It's the first headset I've used that has absolutely like no trace of a screen door, which means you get the full depth perception. You don't feel like there's a screen in front of your face. You can't see any space between the pixels. It's just a nice, solid, vibrant, sharp image. And the resolution on it's really high.
When we can start buying things again.
Yeah.
In 4 years' time, it's gonna be amazing when I get my Quest.
well, the Quest 2's already gone up to the top of the stack as far as the most used headset, even wired to the PC, which keep in mind, it's a wireless headset and it's already beat out every other wired headset for the wired headset part. Like when you connect to the computer and you play Steam, it is the top used VR headset on Steam for the Steam library.
So Facebook's not dead yet then?
No. I think they pretty much own VR right now.
It's them and Amazon.
Hey, Michael, thank you for the 20 Canadian dollars.
Oh, thank you. 20 Canadian?
Yeah, I know, man. Throwing down. Yeah, dude, right? Said, I just saw the title today. This morning, I turned Microsoft Edge on and found all my passwords and contacts were purged. Took all morning to get everything working. Is this the hack you're talking about? No, but I wouldn't be surprised if your Exchange server like nuked that stuff just because they didn't want people being able to get a hold of it if they hacked you.
Yeah.
So I didn't read that in the actual like hack notice, but that would make sense that if the servers installed the patch, part of that patch was probably to purge any kind of cookies or anything that contained personally identifiable information or passwords that they can use to compromise other servers. Remember, if somebody takes over your email, they don't just get your email, they get everything. So if I hack your email,
reset passwords.
Yeah, if I hack your email, I can literally go through your email and find every service you've ever signed up for because you get the confirmation email, right, to verify that's your email address. I can go to every single one of those, get your account name, go log in with the email address on that thing, click reset password, and now I've got your email box. I get the reset request. I click on it before you, say, yes, I authorize this reset, and then I change the password on your email box. So now you can't get into your email to change it, and I just one by one go pick off every service that you don't have two-factor authentication on. So I always tell people two-factor authentication on everything, no exceptions, especially your email, because if somebody gets your email, you're done. You're donezo. They will cascade and they will take over everything. And usually they use bots to do it. So it happens really, really rapidly. Hey, Tom Long, thank you for the 10 euros. Thank you for that, sir.
£10. Is that 10 pounds?
Is that, I think that's euros with like the little backwards E thing.
It's with the
Oh, all right. If it's only euros,
it's only euros, man.
I mean, euros.
Thank you, Tom.
Right. I guess. Thanks.
Hey, mate. He didn't leave a message though. Tom, if you got a message, give it to us in chat. Mage Miner, thank you for the $4.99 dollar ruse. He said, Jerry, wait, just checking in. Haven't seen a stream in a bit. Well, it's good to see you here, man. I'm glad that you guys could stop by and check it out.
Where the hell have you been?
Yeah,
where have you and your been this whole last few weeks?
I mean, we've got the freaking David Hewlett here. Like, there is no place else on the internet.
I have to go in a couple of minutes. But
no worries, man. You punch out whenever you need to.
Two things. I want to do two call outs. Do it. I need the great brains of tech talk. Two things. One, I want to hack my ReSound hearing aids.
Yes.
I hate them. I hate the fact that I got to go and talk to some lady in a shop somewhere who says like, how does it sound now? How does it sound now? So I want to hack them. ReSound, they're called.
I do it myself.
Absolutely want to do that. And the other thing I want to ask about is head tracking, assistive stuff. I've been talking to Gimpy God. We've been hanging out. He actually did a Tech Bandits with us last week, which was great. He was great with the kids. My son came home and was like, can you get that Gimpy God guy back again? He was funny. So we're looking at trying to figure out what is the best setup for eye tracking, head tracking, and very, very small movement. I think I've got the switches that would work. And he's got some anyways. But the idea of like combining eye tracking, head tracking, and custom switches to run Windows so that you can game. Like basically, how do you do an unfettered access to gaming with assistive tech? Because right now it's like you could do some games if they're built for it. We want to be able to like run the whole Windows as if you're just running Windows. That's it. You know what I mean? So if anyone's got any ideas on that, please let me know.
So you're saying there's a lot of gaming stuff that just doesn't use Microsoft Active Accessibility or whatever. So like if you're blind or don't have any arms or something, you can't play.
It feels like and the other thing is it's got to be customized for each freaking thing, right? So you kind of want to be able to go like Gimpy God wants to be able to go in and configure this stuff himself. He doesn't have to worry about having things plugged in and pulled, and you want a setup that could be used just for everything, for controlling the computer, for controlling the game. And the issue he's getting into is he's got a head tracking thing. He's actually got a bit of movement on his head. So I've actually been looking at some IR stuff as well, because I think we might be able to improve just the tracking of the dot with multiple IRs, right? Then you've got like a real sense of 3D, of where he is.
You should look into the Track IR5. It's actually really sensitive. Yeah, Track IR5. I have one, and I used to use it for flight simulators and racing simulators.
Oh, yeah?
And it allows you to map like the pitch and change of your head to movement on the screen. And it's like dead on accurate. Yeah, it's called a Track IR, one word, and then 5. And I think that's the latest version.
Point?
Yeah, so it has an IR transmitter that you put on top of the screen. And then you wear or a receiver on top of the screen, and then you wear the emitter on your headphones. They mount to your headphones or to anything you have on your head, and it points these 3 points of light. And then triangulating the 3 points of light, it can figure out exactly where what your head's pitch is.
I've seen a DIY version of this.
Yeah, you can actually do it with a Wiimote. Like somebody took apart a Wiimote and did it with a regular camera and a Wiimote. You can actually do the exact same thing.
Is that the PlayStation one? I saw one with a PlayStation. They're using a PlayStation camera.
Yeah, you can use it with
the old PlayStation. But you have to get this. You have to burn out the IR
filter. Yep.
You actually melt it out and pull it out of the thing. It's like it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you can buy like if you want to make a tracker, you don't need incredibly high resolution. You really don't. Yeah. So people buy security cameras because security cameras don't have IR filters because they use IR to illuminate at night. So you just get one of those cheap little USB like Waze cams.
The Wise ones would work.
Yeah, Waze cam would totally work. Totally work.
I've got like 3 of them. Maybe.
Yeah, if you plug it in, they can detect IR light. Point your all you do is turn off the lights in your room and like point your iPhone at it, and you'll see the little strobe from the IR Face ID light flashing. Like I just discovered a cool hack. You know the Quest 2? Actually, it works with the Quest 1 too. If you go outside and you have an IR light source, so like you buy like an IR flashlight or something, you can put the headset on. You can put it in pass-through mode where it's using the stereoscopic cameras to give you like depth perception through the cameras, and you basically have night vision goggles. You can walk around in the pitch black with like the brightest IR flashlight ever and like shine it anywhere and nobody can see it. You're completely like invisible. You're like Solid Snake in the darkness.
That's cool.
And it's completely wireless. So I haven't seen anybody else do that. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a video on that at some point. But I think it's kind of cool because it can be dark outside and you could literally go for a run through the woods not run into any trees or anything like that, and be completely wireless with a headset on and just a flashlight. And your flashlight's completely visible to you, but nobody else that's not wearing a headset.
That would be cool. You could build like a really cool like cosplay helmet like that too, where basically you can only be seen and freak the neighbors out too.
Yeah, and the cool thing is it's actually stereoscopic because it's using the cameras top and bottom stitched together, and then you close one eye and it's slightly shifted, so you get depth perception. So you could, in theory, I don't know if I'd want to try it, but you could, in theory, like drive a car. You could put like IR bulbs in your car and wear the headset and just drive around in your car at night, pitch black with no lights on, and it should technically work. I'm not saying anybody should do that.
Someone should sponsor you on that. Like, rent a track, put in the headlights, see if you could do that. That would be very cool.
Literally, you could not buy a night vision headset for like $299. But you could take a Quest 2 and buy a $15 IR flashlight, because all they do is change the LED, right? It's no more expensive than a regular flashlight. It's just an IR LED instead of a regular LED. And there you got your light. You're shining it. Nobody can see it. Like, you could literally just stand in the pitch black in the woods and just shine it around looking at animals and shit. The resolution isn't the highest. I mean, it's a little bit of a noisy picture because obviously the cameras on it aren't designed to be super high resolution, but it is real time. And it does work. Like if I have to get up and take a piss or something when I'm playing VR, I just double tap the thing so that it sees through to the world. And that way I don't have to pull it up and have it like janking around on my head. So, yeah.
Oh, wait a second. So it removes so you can see through. So it could also work for augmented reality then too?
Yeah, well, technically, yes. I haven't seen, the only augmented reality I've seen on it is you can set up a room boundary and it'll overlay the room boundary onto the video. So when you're walking around, you basically have a wireframe of the room. But I haven't seen anybody actually use the pass-through function on the Quest for any augmented reality, but I'd imagine if you hacked it, you could. Like, it's literally the camera's being processed through something, and it is picking, and it's an IR sensitive camera. So the downside is you don't want to take it outside on a sunny day because the IR sensitive cameras will just get bombarded by the sun and they'll eventually just get destroyed. So I wouldn't go out. That's why they tell you on the box, like, don't play this outside. They don't want you in direct sunlight, because if you set the headset down, the Fresnel lenses will create a laser beam that'll burn out the electronics. Or if you have it facing up, it's going to burn out all the IR sensitive cameras that are on it. However, if it's nighttime, you can go outside and use an IR light source, like from your security cameras. Like, if I wanted to, I could play in the pitch black on the side of my house because I have 2 IR security cameras that shine, a really bright IR to illuminate everything, but it's dark, so it doesn't bother my neighbors. I could go out there and literally play in the pitch black with my, I haven't tried it yet, but in theory, I could go out there and play on my Quest 2 with my controllers, and all the tracking and everything would work because the cameras tracking the controllers would see the IR light.
I want to see the security footage of that, though. That'd be freaking hilarious.
Just standing out there, just doing this, like in front of my camera at like 3 a.m.
Right. Neighbors are like, well, the lights aren't bright, but Barnacules has lost it.
That'd be funny.
All right. I got to run. I promise.
No.
All right, give us a funny face. Here, we got to do our thumbnail before you leave here. Okay.
Oh, yeah, they're right. You're right. Wait a second, I should have my light on. I need my light on.
Yeah, get your light on. All right, there we go. You guys ready? Got it. That's the laziest thumbnail development ever. David, thank you for stopping by, man. We really appreciate it. We know you've been like super busy. Guys, check out Clarice on CBS. Our boy is back and doing his acting thing.
I don't know when I'm back, but watch the show anyways. It's just kind of fun, and they're a lovely bunch. That Cutlets guy, Mike Cutlets from what's it called? The Walking Dead.
Oh,
yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah, I try not to fanboy too much. One day I'll confess to the fact that I auditioned like so many freaking times for Walking Dead and never got a role on it. So I was like,
how is that even possible?
Always wanted to be on that show, but no, never happened.
Oh man.
And so with that sad news, I will leave you.
All right, David, we'll catch you later, man. Let us know if you're in next week once you know what your schedule is, and I will relay it to the trips.
I should be. I think I'm. Yeah, I next week is weird, but and a bit of filming the following, but I think Saturday's good. So
cool beans, man. All right, well then we will see you next week. If you guys want to find David on his own streams, go check him out. All his information is in the video description to find him on social media and over on Twitch for his weekly live streams on Tech Banditry. And we'll see you next week, buddy.
Throw money at my nerds.
Yeah. give us money.
Get rid of that damn ticker. Somebody put your name in there. It's gotta be worth a fortune. All right. Later.
All right, take it easy, David. All right, let's see if OBS Ninja like figures out the right thing to do. Let's see. I think as soon as he leaves the room, it should drop down to 2.
We rearranged,
so it keeps him. Okay, interesting. Because last time I did this, oh no, there it goes. We're good.
Okay, it just took a second.
It just took a second.
the preview shows just 2 of us.
Yeah, because OBS Ninja completely handles that compositing now. So like all I'm doing is just taking their URL for their group chat and dropping it into a browser element in OBS Studio, and it figures out how to orient it based on who's in the call and everything. So people can pop in and pop out, and I don't have to worry about nothing. Set it and forget it, as Ron Popeil would say, right?
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, excuse me.
Thank you again, Tom Lunt and Mage Miner and Michael. You guys are awesome. Thank you for those super chats. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You guys are wondering, that's that AuxxZillary and I split all the super chats down the middle. That's what we do to keep us going. Let's see here. Let's talk about the 3D printed house thing. I didn't really get to that with David on here, but I think that's something that's a really, really cool topic and something that's actually shown some advancement.
Yeah, let me see what it is you were talking about, because this has been a thing for a little bit.
Yeah,
I've seen. Let's see, where is that?
It's the Spectrum IEEE.
Oh, that's it. Okay, because I've seen like the Chinese built like a whole neighborhood in like a week or something. It was like 6 or 8 homes with this 3D printing concrete arm. Yeah. It looks like this is a similar sort of deal. They've been doing like these egg-shaped things for like potential Mars habitats and things like that. Which actually there's a link to that as well. AI Space Factory wins NASA's 3D printed extraterrestrial habitats challenge. So like, it's kind of a cool thing. I think this is really neat. Excuse me. Let's see. Printing with concrete's printed matter must flow fluidly through to be extruded through the printer. Quick hardening, strong enough to take the load of subsequent layers, must be able to bond sufficiently between. Okay, I mean, that's not so bad.
So the limiting factor is, of course, that the concrete has to be able to stand while it's in a liquid state, like just like melted filament. Like you can't have it droop, right? And it's so much weight that for the printing speed to be achieved, you need it to be able to set up quickly so that when layer 2 and layer 3 is coming down, it doesn't collapse and droop. And they're like refining the technology, and the only user interaction that's required beyond setting up the gantry, like basically it'd be the similar to you like deploying scaffolding to start framing your house, right? You know,
sure.
So it's very similar in that you set it up, but once you set it up, and they've even created ones now that are on wheels, so you can literally go to housing development, print one house, jack it up or whatever, move it, and it moves over itself to the next plot, lines up, sets down, prints again, and you just have the cement trucks pulling up and just dumping the cement into the hopper, and it's printing a house. And the only thing that you have to do for the frame of the house is any place where there's an overhang, you have to put in a steel girder. So like the top of windows frames, the top of doors. Yeah. So what it does is it prints to a certain layer height where once it gets to the top of like all the windows, then you go around and you basically just drop a steel beam, you know, make some rough measurements, and then it goes around and it'll drop the concrete on the edge and then build the layers up around that. And then over the top of it, and then you just do it for each time you hit the top of door frames or you top of windows. So, and one guy can do it.
Oh yeah,
like one dude can do it. So it's like you need the printer and like 1 or 2 guys. And then once it prints the superstructure, all you have to do is put a roof on it. So depending on the model, if it's one of the egg models, you don't have to. But for the conventional designs, you put a roof on it, and then all the wiring the conduit for the wiring gets run along the concrete. And then somebody goes in there and they just spray insulation on the wall and smooth it out. And all the wires are basically in the insulation. And they're super energy efficient, and they're dirt cheap to make. Like to frame a house, like that's the most expensive part of building your house is the framing and the drywall.
Yeah, man, I've been watching. So they're building up new houses across the street from me.
Yep.
And I'm watching them bring in. It's so funny. It's like a gigantic IKEA thing, because like the framing and stuff is all done, but they have to like lift the wall frame and then tack it down and whatever. And so it's like it's just a bunch of pieces that are like, it's all like the framework is already done. They're just like putting the frames together to make the house. Like I'm looking at it right now and I see the A frames for the roof. There's like 6, you know, little.
Yeah, a semi just pulls up with the prefabs, and they just basically have a crane lift them into place, and they knock them in. But even with that, even with all the prefab done off site, to completely frame a house still takes a crew of like, you know, a half dozen people, like a week or 2, depending on the side of the house, just to frame it.
Yeah. And
this 3D printer can print like the same house in like a day or 2.
This is super cool. And there's a further down in this article here. They talk about another company called Mighty Buildings that are doing it out of, what do they call it? A proprietary thermoset composite material, effectively synthetic stone, says Sam Rubin, co-founder and chief sustainability officer of Mighty Buildings based in California. And I'm like, That's super cool.
Yeah, they look really, really cool. And they're working on the finish. That's the thing is, like, the first iterations of the houses looked really bad because the layers were all uneven. But now they're like figuring it out as the technology goes along, better nozzle designs, better pumps for the material. And now they're getting extremely consistent results where it's like you could just spackle the wall and it would be perfectly smooth. You would not be able to tell that it wasn't a concrete form poured wall. And you don't have to put rebar inside of it because they add fibers to it. They basically put like hay or some kind of synthetic fiber inside of the concrete to hold its shape. And then when it solidifies, just like carbon fiber or whatever, that becomes the rebar. That becomes the structure. So these things are like rated to hurricane force winds. They cost almost nothing because labor is the most expensive part. So like even framing a house, it's like the timber is pretty expensive. Like the timber costs more than it does for them to make this concrete material. But the timber alone is expensive, but it's the guys. You have to pay 6 dudes to like come in and frame an entire house. And it's like, by the time you're done building the house, probably $20,000 or more of the house's cost was to pay the framers to put everything into place and to like get the superstructure completed. And then the drywall would be like the second most expensive part of building a house. My dad used to do that. Like growing up, I did drywall with him. And drywall is incredibly expensive. But the cool thing with these houses is normally you need drywall because when you frame a house, there's so much empty space in the wall where you basically have to fill the outside layer with insulation. And then you use the drywall to basically sandwich it in.
Right.
Whereas with this, the insulation is the wall. It's like literally like a 8 or 10 inch thick layer of concrete. It's like, so all you do is you just add a layer of spray insulation to the inside, which is really easy. You don't have to hang the rock and screw it into the structure. No. You literally just go in and spray this shit on the wall and smooth it out with a trowel. Nice. And all the wires and all the conduits carrying the wires and everything that you fish the wires through are all just buried in the insulation on the wall. And you end up with this really smooth looking wall. And it takes like a couple of guys, like 3-4 days, and the house is damn near done.
Yeah.
It's wild. The electrician is easy. So to do electrician on a regular house, to wire it, you have to come in, you have to drill holes in the beams themselves, run the wires and the conduits through the beams with all the fire code and everything, because, you know, wood is incredibly flammable. So you have to make sure you're using the right conduits and everything. With these buildings, you don't. You can literally just go along with the wires with like regular plastic conduit and just be like, boom, 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 boom. You're nailing it right into the concrete, like literally like screwing it right into the concrete using the concrete screws. And then you just spray insulation over the top of it. You're not having to create all these like complex routes. Same thing with the plumbing. The plumbing and stuff for all the fixtures. If they're doing a flat foundation, they don't need a void under the house. Because all the plumbing and everything can be like run at ground level, and they can just build like a false floor. Well,
and I suppose too, like if you had a team there, you could run the wires, or like conduit at least, like you know, as it's printing out, you had a guy ahead of time between layers, like lay out the tubing to run wires and stuff through and whatnot, and then it's actually like a part of the wall, and you can just, you know, you just push cable through it, and it's like there.
Yeah, as long as the thing you're putting on the wall isn't thicker than the layer that's being put down, you could just have the printer surround it. Like the printer, like if you put a hose on the middle of the wall, like you're saying, they could just run over it with the nozzle.
It would just goop over the right conduit over the top piece, and then it's just in there. Like,
and the cool thing is, it'd be water. It'd be, because of the type of material it is, even if a pipe broke or cracked or something in the wall, it's completely sealed from all sides. So you're not going to have like a blowout in your house where it's like you blow a pipe in the wall and it just fills the wall full of water and then it pours into your house. It's like if something cracks or fractures in the wall, as long as the material you're using is watertight, basically it can completely erode the pipe away, and the conduit that was left in the wall would still carry the water. You know, and I mean, imaginably that's not ideal, but I'm just saying it just seems like that's a hell of a lot safer than, say, having you know, a pipe burst and having your drywall just like rot out and then just a torrent of water flooding your entire house. I would rather it be encased in concrete. Same thing with electrical. If you had an electrical fire, it's not going to do anything if it's encased in concrete.
Yeah, where's it going to go?
Yeah, like you're not even going to see smoke from the damn thing unless it works its way through the pipe into the electrical cabinet or whatever. But it's all going to be localized to one place in your house. It's not going to be burning your whole house down. Hey, Chels, thank you for the $10. We appreciate it. Said, hell yeah, 3D printing. Woo! Yeah, no, I think 3D printing is one of those things that's an incredibly underrated technology that some people still think is a gimmick, even though every year it like basically doubles in popularity.
Dude, it's getting so cool.
I mean, and again, like that's what we're going to do on Mars. Like that's what won for building on Mars, because with these 3D printers, they can actually take the Mars soil, right? They can take the Mars soil, and then they can get the water, you know, whether it be what do they say, like under the ground, or collecting the water from the like very, very limited humidity that's in the atmosphere. They can get the water. They basically mix it with the compound that's in the ground, and they have everything that they need on the surface of Mars to make this like pycrete shit, or what? Not pycrete, but it's some kind of a ceramic clay. Yeah. And then the robot can literally use that material to build the habitat. So that means the only thing that you have to put on the starship to get there is the robot that harvests the material and builds the structures. And that's so cool. So I think that that's like really cool, because then you're not having to ferry back materials. Now there might be some materials they have to take there, like for instance, if they need some kind of an activator or something for the chemical, but still it would take way less material than if they had to haul it all. Imagine like if the entire structure had to be transported there for each structure. You know, you might have to launch 100 starships to build a small little village. Whereas with this, it's like all you're sending is the shit that's inside of the buildings. The pressurized buildings themselves are just built with material, like 99% of the material on the planet. So I think this is freaking cool. And the other thing is, it's not just houses. Have you seen the 3D printed cars now?
No. What?
So they're 3D printing cars now. There's a company in California that's been working on this for about 7 or 8 years now. And they basically 3D print the entire body to the car. And then they put the components onto the 3D printed superstructure. So you basically have a car that's 3D printed, that's relatively lightweight and really strong. And it even has crumple zones and crash, you know, it can pass the, you know, crash standard testing. And then they attach the axles and the motor and all that stuff, electrical. They're not doing gas powered for this, but electrical. Sure. And they build it on that. And now other companies are starting to take cues and do it in metal. So like Koenigsegg is printing entire computer parts, their trailing arms for their suspension, their turbos, engine blocks, pistons now. Like, did you see Porsche's 3D printing pistons now?
Nice.
So Porsche figured out that they could 3D print a titanium piston in a geometry that would be impossible to achieve with a CNC machine. And they end up with a billet polished part that weighs like 20% less than the best CNC'd counterpart. It costs them less to 3D print it than to machine it. And it's so lightweight that it allows the engine to rev like an extra 1,000 RPM.
Cool.
And so these are slated to go into the Porsche GT2 RS here in the next year or two. And so I've been following 3D printing, and one of the coolest things that they do with 3D printing that I've seen is letting a computer's AI figure out the strongest possible part at the lightest weight.
Yeah.
So God, I can't remember the name of the company. There's a company that makes a one-seater track car that looks like a Formula One car. You guys probably have seen it. I think Jay Leno's Garage even like reviewed it at one point. But it's one of the lightest power to ratios that you can get of any car on the planet. I want to say it weighs like 1,500 pounds and has like 2,000 horsepower. It's insane.
What?
Dude, it's absolutely insane. It's like a fighter cockpit. You're literally sitting in like an F1 style car with like an enclosed cockpit that comes down on top of you when you climb in. And it's a prototype right now. They're not selling it, but if you look under it, that, you know, the control arms for the suspension, usually you have a control arm that comes out, and then you have like an A arm that connects to it to go up and down.
Yeah.
You look at it and it looks like it was grown. It looks organic. There's not a straight edge on it. It just looks like this like windy, twisty lattice work that's like really airy, and you look at it and you're like, man, that's gonna break. But what they did is they went into a computer and they used an AI that built like 1 billion trailing arms and tested each one of them in CAD until it found the design that required the least amount of material. It can't be manufactured with a CNC machine because of all the hollow voids inside of it.
Yeah, okay.
It has to be 3D printed. And when it's in titanium, it weighs half of what the carbon fiber equivalent is, and it's twice as strong.
Nuts.
And so it's right now it's super expensive because to print one arm takes them like 2 weeks of machine time on like $1 million machine. Yeah. But the end result is you end up getting a part that you can't possibly make lighter, and it's repeatable. Like you can 3D print the part and it'll be within like 1/10 of a gram every single part. Like and you can't achieve those numbers with just regular machining. So in the future, you're going to have cars, you're going to have engines that are as light as they can possibly get, suspension that's as light as it can get. The car is going to be safe because they're going to crash test it in the simulation like 5 million times and like figure out exactly the perfect geometry, the right strength bolts so that everything breaks at exactly the optimal moment to absorb the electricity. You're basically going to end up with a car in the end that is so perfect that you're going to hit a barrier at 150 miles an hour, and the entire front of the car is going to crumple up, then transfer all that energy around the driver, completely crumple up the back of the car, even though it didn't even crash into the back of the car, turn the cockpit sideways to absorb even more of it. And when you're done, you're going to basically just have a cockpit with all the parts broken off it, and the driver's just going to get out and like brush himself off. Like oh man, it's going to be so cool. The future is looking really, really cool for this shit.
I like it. It's so neat.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for it. But the problem is it's like it's not cost effective right now. That's why a lot of companies aren't using it just yet, except for hypercars.
It always starts somewhere.
Exactly. Well, you know, every piece of technology you have on your car today started at Mercedes. And one of those $100,000. No, I'm serious. Like double pane glass, form fitting seats that have like inflatable bladders in them, stuff, steering headlights, even stuff like climate control. Like most every feature that you have on your car that you just take for granted, cruise control, all that shit started on like a Mercedes back in like the 70s and the 80s. It's absolutely wild. Like, I watched a show where they were like, all the technology on your car started in Formula One, went to Mercedes, like in their street cars, and then ultimately got cheap enough that it started showing up in street cars. Wow. Like if you get into like a Lamborghini Countach or whatever, it's like a Countach. If you got into one today, you'd be like, this is laughable, right? Like the interiors on them are super dated. You know, not a lot of amenities and stuff. But if you look at cars that were built around the same time and the features that they have that we just take for granted now, like even just like, you know, the way the door locks work and the way the door handles work and stuff. It's like you look at that today and you laugh because you're like, oh man, like the cheapest Kia has that now. But it was amazing back then. Like when it first started, like alarms. Remember car alarms? Oh, dude, car alarms used to be like if you get a car that had like keyless entry and a car alarm on it when it was like new technology, like on the Mercedes, that was like only on cars that was like over $100,000. Now it's like, can you even buy a car that doesn't have keyless entry? Yeah, right. I don't even think you can. Like even my base level Forester has keyless entry. It's pretty wild. Like, or push button start. Push button start used to be only on Lamborghinis and Ferraris and all that stuff because it added another component, right? But now it's like I've seen cars that are sub $20,000 that have a push button start. Yeah. So so the technology just trickles down. If you see it in Formula One, you'll eventually get it in real cars. Carbon ceramic brakes, right? Sure. They started in Formula One, then Mercedes had them, and then all the supercars and hypercars got them, and now you can get carbon ceramic brakes as like an option on your $35,000 like, you know, sedan. Like it's like you can get them everywhere. You can even buy aftermarket kits to put carbon ceramic brakes on everything. They used to be like $8,000 a wheel, and now you can buy an entire carbon ceramic brake set for like, you know, a Honda Civic if you want for like a couple $1,000. Right. So, you know, it's cool to watch the technology, but I think 3D printing has accelerated all of this. Because 3D printing allows us to make any geometry in any shape that can possibly be imagined, whereas before you had to design the technology, right? Ooh, what do we have here? I've got a delivery coming in. Do I want some donuts? Is that a trick question? Ooh, look at this. Are you jealous, Ox?
You want two?
Yes. I just want one, please.
You bet.
I can't look too fat on the internet.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sweetheart. I'll eat the rest of the donuts when I'm offline.
I have your medicine. Do you need anything?
Oh, what?
I have your medicine. Do you need anything?
Let's see. What time is it? No, I'm good. I'm good for now. Thank you.
I should get more coffee, actually.
Dude, go get a coffee, man. Go get a coffee. We need to get energized dogs.
I know, I'm sleepy. Well, man, so I have terrible what they call revenge bedtime procrastination, where like I'll stay up real late doing stuff I want to do, right? Like my lady will fall asleep on the couch, we're watching a show or something, then, you know, so that I don't get too far ahead, I'll either put on my own shows or like go off and do my own stuff. I didn't actually end up going to bed till like after 2 a.m.
Me too. And I barely woke up this morning.
It's like, because like I want to play my games or like goof off on my phone or whatever, and then like oh man, now time gets away from me and stuff. So now I'm a sleepy guy.
I feel like go get your coffee. Go get your coffee, bro. So back to the 3D printing stuff. I plan to fully get back into 3D printing. I've been just waiting to try to get my makerspace like built out again, but I've got a lot of cool new 3D printing technology that I want to do some pretty insane stuff with. And it's getting better every day. Like resin printing. How many people here remember when a Form 2, which was like the cheapest resin printer you could get, was like $4,000? I literally have one. Like Form sent me one years and years and years ago. So I have one, and the material was like $150 to $250 a liter. Insanely expensive. Like resin printing wasn't even something anybody would consider unless you were like a business and you were making parts that you were going to cast or mold into some kind of metal, right? So now today, you can actually buy a resin printer cheaper than an FDM printer, which is a conventional printer that just prints out filament. You can buy a resin printer that prints at 10 microns for like $150 to $250.
Oh, what up, Chloe?
The hell is that? Oh, he's come back in the room. You can buy the resin now for about $30 a liter on the low end. So now it's like competitive with the pricing of FDM filament. And so now resin printing is like completely approachable, and it never was before.
I kind of want to get into that.
Dude, it's awesome. Like resin, and the thing is too, is they've also created so many new photopolymers that are strong. Like they even have resins that are as strong like ABS now. That used to be like a myth back in the day. That was a unicorn. Like to get a resin print that was as strong as an FDM print was like pretty much impossible. Now they even make like a polycarbonate resin. It's really expensive, but they make a polycarbonate resin now. So, and the cool thing with, Elegoo Mars, exactly. The Elegoo Mars is the cheap one.
Oh, yeah. I think
there's like 3 or 4
we've talked about this
really
before, and I couldn't remember what Joel told me, and I think it was this one. And you guys did tell me about this one the last time we were talking, like because I couldn't remember.
Oh, the Mars?
They make I think Elegoo makes a 4K one now.
They do.
And it's like $250 or something like that.
Yeah, they make a huge one. They make one that's like large, because that's another thing with resin is usually it's infinitely more expensive to get a larger build volume, but because you have to have a bigger screen. So you have to have a higher resolution and bigger screen, because the resolution of the print is how many pixels per inch dictates the resolution. So if you want a bigger build volume, you either need a laser and mirrors, right? So that you can expand it. That's how Form does their build volume. Or you just need a bigger screen, because you're literally curing the resin with light emitting from a screen.
Right.
And that's what makes it so fancy. It's not the printers. As a matter of fact, resin printers are infinitely less complex than FDM printers, because the only thing you need for a resin printer is a screen, a clear vat made out of polycarbonate or glass that can hold the resin, and a metal plate that's actuated by a single screw and a single servo motor. So that's all it is, because all you're doing is you're basically just sandwiching the resin down against the screen with a tiny little gap for the resin, and then you're turning on the screen, and then the screen's backlight, wherever there isn't black covering the backlight so that it can come through, it cures the resin. Then once it cures it, it basically pops, it pulls up and it pops free, and it sticks to, or it pulls away from the vat and it sticks to the metal, and it comes up, and then it drops it down with a little bit more of a gap and does it again. So this is all it's doing. A resin printer just is up, let some resin coat back in, squish it back down with the resin, turn on the screen, cure it through the panel, rip it off the surface of the bottom, and you just keep doing that over and over and over again to build up your part. And that's all you need for resin printing. It's actually way simpler than FDM, because for FDM you need a motor for the Z-axis, you need a motor for the Y-axis, and you need a motor for the X-axis. So those all have to play ball together, right? You have to have a hot end that can accurately like heat the filament. You need to have another 4th motor that feeds the filament. So now you got 4-stepper motors, 4-stepper drivers, and electronics. Whereas with a resin printer, all you have is one motor moving a plate up and down and a screen turning on and off. That is it. There's no complexity to it. So the reason why Form printers were so expensive is because they achieved their resolution, because screen technology wasn't there back then, right? So they cured the resin by using an infrared laser that was focused down to a tiny little point, and the laser would just draw along the bottom to cure the resin wherever the laser pointed. And then it would turn off, and then it'd go up, get resin, come down, the laser would do it again. It made them incredibly slow. Like modern resin printers, like that Elegoo Mars, will kick the ever-living shit out of my Form for speed, because it can cure an entire layer at once. It comes down, the screen turns on, that projects wherever the light comes through the screen. That's where it cures the resin, a whole layer at a time. So it's like 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer. Where with my Form, it's like, you know, okay, 1 layer. You know, so it takes a lot longer. Like a print that would take 72 hours on my Form on an Elegoo Mars probably would take maybe one quarter of the time. Yeah, at the same resolution, similar resolution. Plus, they're massively dimensionally accurate. That's the other thing that's really cool, is because you're turning on a screen, and the resolution is based on a fixed screen size, and each pixel, you can actually get like flawlessly precise resolution down to whatever the resolution of the screen is. Beyond the resolution of the screen, you're not going to be accurate, but down to the resolution of the screen per layer, you're going to be that accurate every time. Whereas with an FDM, you can have, you know, belt wobble, you can have some flex in the system and stuff that can throw it out of spec. So you might need a little post-processing. No, you could print a gear on an FDM printer and it would be it'd flawlessly mesh if you put it in a gearbox with another gear. With an FDM, you're really not going to get that unless it is a really good FDM and you are printing insanely slow. Hey, Chels, thank you for the $5. Said for the Elegoo. Okay, she said for sure Elegoo all the way. It's my favorite brand so far. We've tried a ton. The Saturn is the bigger one and it's amazing. Yeah, as a matter of fact, my neighbor has a Saturn and he loves it.
Oh, cool.
So, and it makes me sad because I still have this Form 2 sitting here and I've got a bunch of resin for it. So I'm still going to print a bunch of stuff with it, but it's like the resin's like $150 to $250 a liter. It's proprietary to that printer and it's slow as shit by today's standards. Like I could buy an Elegoo Mars for the price of 1 cartridge of material. I could buy the entire Mars printer of the Saturn that has like 4 times the build volume, right? Yeah. Crazy. Oh, you got somebody outside?
Yeah, my lady's back from the gym.
Aw, look at you. So how's the nuptial life, man? Does anything feel different?
Oh, that's
actually, you haven't been married.
September.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you still got a little bit of time.
honestly, I can't imagine too much is going to change. Like,
shut your mouth.
We've been cohabitating for a while now.
You just wait. You just wait, bro. We're gonna be having this conversation again. You just wait.
Yeah, right.
You just wait. Everything changes, man. When the contract is signed, everything changes for the best. I mean, it's not bad. It's for the good. I will tell you this though. You guys are gonna be pissed off when you get your taxes.
That's something we were thinking about. Well, like this year is a little weird because like we both technically own the house.
Oh wait, how many kiddos do you guys have? You have 2, right?
No. So
just one?
Not between the two of us. Like I have no.
Well, no, but once you're married, I mean, her costs are your costs. Like they're gonna be your kids.
So the way I understand it, they claim 1 kid each. She and her
gotcha.
ex.
Okay, yeah. So one kid still is gonna help you out a lot on your taxes when you guys are married.
I expect so.
Because marriage is like, this is the thing that me and my wife figured out that we never knew beforehand. Is we got married and we did our tax the first year we did our marriage, and we ended up paying an extra $8,000 in taxes by being married.
Yikes.
And I was like, why? And it's because when you're married, every dollar that each of you make contributes towards one sum for the family income. Whereas when you're individuals, you file as individuals, not married, and then you both are only taxed at the rate of what you each made individually. Right. Whereas even if you file separately when you're married, which you can do, you can file separately as married, they still calculate your tax bill based on the total income of the household.
Snap.
So you do get screwed on that pretty hard unless you have kids. Yeah. And if you have kids, then you get like an instant, like I think it's like $4,500 up to $7,500 deduction or something like that, and then that basically makes up for the difference.
Okay.
So yeah, I think you'll probably be all
right. We've talked about like, you know, either like hiring a CPA or something for just to make sure. Some of our we've met some couples around here, and they've talked about, you know, maybe that, and I've thought about like, hey man, it might be worth getting that business license and claiming, you know, 150 square feet out of the house as business space, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just make sure that you talk to a tax guy before doing it, because there also are some pretty severe drawbacks if you don't hit certain targets.
Right.
And plus, if you claim certain space in your house, that can come back to bite you later too.
Yeah. Because and like there's two, like we work from home, right? Yep. There's certain claims or deductions you can make from that, because like, you know, that's workspace, not home space, and that sort of thing. But then like if it's double duty, like if I'm running a business from this chair and also doing my 9-to-5 work from this chair, do I get to claim that square footage double? Or like, I don't know. That's why I talk to a tax professional before.
Yeah, I think they literally do it like down to the percentage. Like you basically say, I use this space for 80% work and 20%, and you can like figure that out.
Hell, 33% of my life is at least work, like 9-to-5 work here, you know, and then however many hours or whatever on the side building PCs and stuff.
Yeah. So you can, you can claim a part of your house, and what it does is it takes away from, like basically you can write off some of your property taxes. Yeah. And you can write off utilities. So like a percentage of your power, if your internet is just used for business, or you have an internet connection just for business, you can write off the whole thing as business. Or if it's used for personal, you can say like 50% of it business, 50% of it personal. There's a lot of ways that you can actually itemize depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Let's see, your PS of the tax changed in 2017. You can't claim working from home until 2025. Yeah, I'm not going to believe that till I check, because I do. And my tax people actually do that. And they're professional tax people that work directly with the IRS. Right. So I think what you're talking about is probably something different. Maybe it's like you have a job, but you're just working from home because of COVID, because that's a little different. Right. We're talking about a business, like you're using your home as a business.
You operate Jerry Berg Industries out of a chunk of your house. So I think that's claimed differently than me saying I work for someone else at my home. And that I think that's a little different.
Yeah. So if you have a business license, so if you have an S Corp or you're an LLC, you can actually claim space in your home as a business. Like if you operate your business out of your home, you can claim that space in your home. You can claim the utilities. And there's actually a lot of deductions that you can do throughout the whole process. Like if you use the computer for business, like if you have a computer dedicated, you can write off that entire computer as a business expense.
I should buy a new computer for my business.
You can. And as a matter of fact, you have to spend a certain amount, because if you don't spend a certain amount and you make under a certain amount, you actually get screwed. So,
and that's the thing. Like I've toyed with the idea, because it'd only be like $200 to get the license, because I'm technically outside the Bonnie Lake city limits. I mean, I would just have to register with the county, and it's cheaper that way. I don't have to bother with city stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to look into like the operating costs and stuff. Like you got to figure out like, and am I making enough money?
That's a big one. If you're not making enough money, it can screw you so sideways. Like LLCs are pretty easy. Like you're out the cost of establishing it. Sure. But you're pretty good with an LLC, even if you don't make a ton of money. But like an S corp, if you incorporate as an S corp where you actually have shares and a board of directors,
right,
and you're making like under 120,000 a year, you will actually end up paying more taxes than had you never formed the LLC or the S corp to begin with.
Yeah, and I think I would do LLC at first, because I'm just not making enough money. But like, well, that might even help some of what we do, because then it's AuxxZillary Media Group is working in contract with Jerry Berg Industries or whatever, Barnacules Media Group. And I mean, now we'd have to start invoicing and all that stuff. Yeah, it'd have
to be like 1099 MISCs and all that crap. So, which eventually we'll probably have to do anyways. Yeah. Just because right now we're paying double duty on taxes.
Right.
Which that wouldn't happen, because if you were on the payroll and I issued taxes, then it wouldn't be double jeopardy. Basically, I wouldn't be paying the income coming in the channel, and you wouldn't be paying the income on shit coming into PayPal account. So
because it'd go to the business. It'd be your business paying my business for my time.
No, exactly. Yeah. So and the thing is, like, that's another thing that's good about business. If you contract other people, like if you're not a business and you pay them, technically they have to pay the tax. If it's visible to the IRS, they have to pay the taxes, even if it isn't, you're technically supposed to, but they have to pay the taxes on that. But then you're also paying the tax on it because you paid them out of income. So it's like you bought something. Whereas if you're a business and you pay somebody, you don't pay the money on that taxes. That money that you're paying them, that basically comes out of your earnings, drops down your taxable revenue, and then they pay the taxes on the money that you paid them.
Yeah.
So you end up in this situation, but I mean, it gets more complicated than that if you have like a full-time employee. If it's a contractor, then it's really easy. But if you have a full-time employee, then you have to give them like benefits and you have to pay into their Social Security and all that crap. But if you're just using them as a contractor in a contracting capacity, then you just 1099 MISC and you pay them their fee. They invoice you, you pay them, and then they're responsible for paying the income tax on that money. And then for you, it's an expense and something you write off.
Right.
So yeah, no, there are benefits to doing this the right way. But here's the thing that sucks is there's so many tax laws that there's no way the average person would ever be able to figure this shit out on their own. Like it's worth it just to go like me, even on years where like the last 2 years I've come out negative. Like I've actually spent more money than I've taken in by a lot. Like I've been kind of going down the toilet for that period, but because I'm dealing with some shit, right?
Sure.
But during that time, I still pay a tax attorney like that specializes in doing YouTube and online broadcasting, because there are so many weird gotchas for this industry that the IRS doesn't understand. And as soon as you have a legal body step in and issue the paperwork correctly, you don't get audited. Like you don't have like, ever since I've had them do it, you don't get audited. And for me, that's worth paying like, $1,500 a year to have somebody like prepare the taxes and do it in the right capacity, because every time I do it, I end up missing like a million things. And then they just ask you for stuff. That's the thing I like about it, is you don't have to like just provide them everything. They'll actually look at like I give them everything. They have my accounts. They can log into my PayPals and my bank and everything, because they're they're a professional financial institution and they're insured. So they go through and they gather all this info, and then they'll come at me if there's any questions like, oh, we itemized all your charges on your account. We couldn't figure out what these ones are. What are these ones? Do you know? What is the mileage on your cars? How much is that for business? How much of the space in your house are you still using? Is it the same as last year? Did it grow? Did it shrink? They just ask you all these questions, and it's just like, you just go through and just give them the data, and then they figure out how to compile it into the million pages that go to the IRS.
Yeah. And I like. That's worth. Like, what do you mind saying how much it costs you for that?
It's about $1,500 a year. Wow. It varies though. Sometimes it can go up as much as $3,000 depending on the complexity.
For the accountant to crunch all that?
To crunch everything for the year.
Damn.
Literally, they go through everything and build my books from scratch for that.
Wow.
So that way I don't have to have a bookkeeper.
That's a business expense.
It is. No, and that's the cool thing is they even write themselves off as a business expense when preparing the taxes.
Nice.
And then what I do is anytime that there's a return, like if I get taxes back and I don't owe anything, what I do is I have them just put it in a tax-free escrow account. So that way I'm not sitting on it as income that I have to pay taxes on it the next year. And then they just put that towards the IRS bill, you know, the following year. Like, cause some years I'll get money back, some years I'll owe money because the nature of, you know, revenue being all over.
That's right.
Yeah. So I just
like, there's that option for me too. Is like, you want to take a chunk of this and apply it to your next year's taxes? And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, this is what sucks about the IRS. Is so like, let's say the IRS, you get a $10,000 return, right? Yeah. So they send you a check for $10,000, but then the next year that's considered income.
Right.
So it's like they gave you back a $10,000 refund, yet that goes into your account. And now your bank is reporting that you took $10,000 into your bank account. And then that gets sent to the IRS and they look at that as revenue and use it as an audit source. So
that's dumb.
It's so dumb. So what I do instead is I just have them hold, unless I need it, unless it's like, if I really need the money, then I'll be like, no, give it to me and we'll deal with it next year.
Sure.
But what I do is have them hold on to it, because if they hold on to it in escrow, then it never counts as income. And I never pay taxes on it. And then when it comes around to pay the tax bill, because of the type of account that they put it in, which I think even generates interest, they then use that to pay the tax bill. And because I never had access to that money and it was never like in my account and usable, they don't consider it income. Yeah. Or some shit like that. It's weird. It's very complicated, but they advise me and they're like, it's best in this situation to either take it out or keep it in. So they're the ones that advise me. I just do whatever they tell me to do. I just do it because they know best. And they've done a really good job for the last couple of years.
Yeah, that seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah,
and
clearly,
if you make it, it's a net positive.
Yeah, and the best way to do it, like, and if I was still making a ton of money, which I'm not, I'm actually like not doing well at all. But if I was making a ton of money on YouTube, like I was like my first couple of years when I was really, really big and growing fast, you can actually have them become bookkeepers too, because this business doesn't just do taxes. They also do payroll if you have employees, and they also do bookkeeping. So instead of building your books at the end of the year, which is difficult, right? That costs more.
Sure.
What you do is you just pay them a monthly fee to be your payroll. So they'll pay anybody you want. If you invoice somebody, you don't have to make an invoice. You just send them an email and say, pay this person. Here's their address. Here's their thing. Here's what they did. Pay them, and they'll go drop the invoice and maintain the books. And then at the end of the year, all the books are all like meticulously built. And then your tax bill is cheaper at the end of the year because everything's all prepared and they already did the books. But but if you're not doing payroll, it's not worth it, because it ends up costing like $500 to $700 a month. Which if you have employees is like a drop in the bucket, like to get somebody to do payroll and your books. But for somebody who's not making that much money, I'd be screwed, right? Like I couldn't afford to do that every month. It's more cost effective for me just to spend the $1,500 at the end of the year. Oh, did somebody say something in chat? Oh, you getting them?
I took care of it.
Good job, man. Good job. I love you long time. Got to be on top. Where's Epic Helper when you need him?
Yeah, where's the mods when you need them, you slacker bums?
Neo Tech said, holy shit, is it even worth it for a YouTuber? It depends on how much you make. But for me personally, it's worth it because of the stress. So even if it puts me in a negative, like even if it costs more for them to prepare the taxes than if I did it myself, the peace of mind of knowing I'm not going to have to deal with an audit. And if an audit happens, they deal with it. It's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
And there's some things you pay a professional for, right? Like I don't want to have to there's some things around the house, right? I could probably fix my car or whatever, but like you pay, sometimes it's just less, like you said, stress. I just don't want to deal with it. So I pay somebody else to do it. That's,
I think it's funny. Neo to Texas makes sense for a real business, but not for a YouTuber. A YouTuber is a real business.
How is that not?
That's something that I don't understand about people. It's like literally YouTubers follow the exact same business model as if you got a Krispy Kreme's or you bought a McDonald's or you ran a multi-billion-dollar corporation. We all abide by the same rules. We all have the same incorporation. We all pay the same taxes. So to infer that you're not a real business would be wildly inaccurate.
I'd have to qualify. So it's not a real business for someone like me. Okay. I have a YouTube channel. I do Twitch. I probably made like $400 this year from Twitch. It's not even enough to worth claiming.
Fair enough.
I think you have to break $600. I think it's something like that. There's a limit, whatever. But if I really sat down and like itemized the money that I've made from Tech Talk, from Twitch, from selling PC parts, and things like that, I've probably made enough to where that's where I'm at. I'm like at this kind of in between where like it makes sense that maybe I should have a business and really start keeping track of this stuff in an appropriate manner. Because at some point it's going to matter. So,
yeah, if you're making over like $12,000 a year, the IRS will come after you if they don't see some taxes coming from that.
Not quite there yet. I would say like last year, probably, if I were to just ballpark it, probably like $2,500.
Yeah, see, the IRS ain't gonna give two shits about that.
Yeah.
But like for me, for instance, my top grossing year on YouTube was $350,000. And now hold on, just so you guys know, that was only 2 years of the 14 years I've done this. The last 2 years, I haven't even made like 50,000. So I'm like, I mighty have fallen, right? So I got to work on that again. But on the 2 years that I made that kind of money, you know how much money I saved by being incorporated as an S corp? My tax
12
bill.
grand.
Oh God, it was closer to 40. I saved $40,000 by having an S corp. So those 2 years that I was an S corp, even the losses I took from the years where I paid more taxes than had I not had an S corp, I still benefited hugely by having the S corp like over the course of all of it. So, and that's my goal in the future. This is my full-time job. This is what I do. So the goal is to, make more money and to be a business. Yep. So at some point, the S corp does justify all the work that's going into it to do it. Because if you don't have an S corp, dude, sole proprietorship, worst fucking decision in the world if you make over 100K. If you make over 100K, you're paying 18% more taxes right off the top than everybody else, because the IRS considers that because you're a sole proprietorship, that you're going to fuck your taxes up by at least 18%. So they just go ahead and have you pay that anyways.
Damn.
So sole proprietorships get hit the hardest. You're going to pay 18% more taxes right out of the gate. You're not going to be able to write anything off for your business, because it's going to be your personal taxes. So it doesn't do you any good. By having an S corp or an LLC, you're basically branching off the corporation and having be an independent entity that's separate from you. So now the corporation makes money and then you make money separate. And what that allows you to do is you make sure that your income is always under, like even on a year where I made that much money, I may have only taken, $100,000 from the corporation and left the rest invested in the company for write-offs and stuff. And by doing that and balancing that and letting them do the books, it saves you a lot of money.
And see, that's why you'll hear about these CEOs who only make $1, right? The company is, their paycheck every year is $1.
Yeah, and the company buys them everything.
That's it. The company owns the car, the company owns the house, and those are perks for you being the CEO, and those are written off as expenses for the company.
Yep.
Like,
plus your taxes is cheaper, your healthcare insurance is cheaper, all that shit's cheaper when the company pays for it. Yeah. Like, for instance, go talk to some big YouTubers that you know and ask them if they own the car or if the company bought the car. Because I guarantee you, like Linus, his car is a company car. The vehicles that they have, probably his wife's vehicle is probably even a company car. And the insurance on him is probably all through a company that's corporate insurance. And he probably offers that to his employees, too, to get corporate insurance cheaper because they work for Linus Media Group. Exactly. And that's the way to do it. That's the whole reason of having a business, is for it to be an entity that can profit and pay its taxes as an individual entity. And that protects it from dying. Like, it also protects it from you too. Let's say you go bankrupt and you were not an LLC. Your sole proprietorship would die. Your business would be, if you went bankrupt, your business goes down with the ship. If you're an LLC, limited liability corporation, or an S corp, you can literally personally go bankrupt, lose everything, lose your house, everything, and the company could still be worth $10 million. And you could literally have that company just pay you a higher payroll. Like, you could increase your payroll from the company to get yourself back on your feet. Or if you had credit issues, you could have the corporation that has clean credit go buy everything and just, it's a business boat, it's a business house, it's a business yacht, you know, it's like all that shit. That's how they do it. That's you also pay a lot less taxes on it doing it that way, because you can write off the depreciation, which you can't do. Like, on a sole proprietorship, there are ways that you can kind of do some depreciation stuff, but as a proper business, you can depreciate everything you buy for the business. So if you buy a car and its value goes down by like $10,000 in a year, you can write off a portion of that $10,000 in lost value over the course of you owning the vehicle, and you end up paying way, way less for it. So
how does Linus Tech Tips earn money and revenue? YouTube ads, float plane, sponsorships. They sell merchandise. Yeah, 2 sponsors per video. Millions of hits. So AdSense on that is probably, I mean, on a video over 1 million vids, probably between $10,000 and $30,000 in ad revenue just from AdSense. For one video a day. Like, so that's like 10 to 30 G's probably, you know, I'm estimating this. Sure. And then the ads, I don't know how much he gets paid, but on a video like me, a company will offer me between $5,000 and $8,000 to run an ad on anything that gets over 100,000 views. So 1 million views, you got to imagine these guys are probably offering, you know, 15 to 30, maybe sometimes $50,000 an ad
depending on how long the ad is, right? For a small ad spot, probably not as much. It can vary wildly though. That's why it's hard to estimate. Like it just depends on what the market is paying, what advertisers are available, what type of advertisements they are, the demographic they're going to, that all can affect it. But basically in a nutshell, there's a reason why Linus can employ what, like 30 people and have a giant studio and be able to buy like really crazy stuff to review. Like a lot of the stuff he reviews, like he bought a $30,000 TV just to review from China, like some clear 30,000. That wasn't gifted to him. Like he says in his videos, he's very, very letter of the law. But when he gets something, he buys it. Yeah, the company bought it. But like that's how much revenue that the company is making that he can reinvest that amount in the company and then safely weather any storms. So like if revenue goes down or adpocalypse happens or something like that, he's got a period of time, right? That he can sustain the company. He's not living paycheck to paycheck in the company. But in order for him to do that, he's not taking millions and millions and millions of dollars from the company. And that's why you don't see him driving around in like Lambos and McLarens and shit like that. And, you know, it's like he doesn't live in like the biggest mansion you've ever seen in your life. It's like, yeah, if he wanted to, you know, rob the company blind, he probably could do that stuff, but he doesn't. He reinvests because he wants to build the company, have more employees, make more types of videos, more channels. He's building an empire.
Yeah. And that's better anyway.
Yeah, it is. It is stable. That's the thing is you have to make a lot of decisions. It's like, do you want a lot of money now or do you want guaranteed stability? Or I should say more guaranteed stability. And it's the right way to do it. And so wait, he spent $80K to make a solid gold Xbox controller. I'm pretty sure the company sponsored, or he may have paid some of that, but I'm pretty sure that the company that he featured that did the casting probably paid for some of that too, or at least gave him like an insanely good deal. Because even spending $80,000 on a video, that's pretty, I mean, that's pretty crazy. Even for a video gets like 1 million views. It's just, I don't know if that's really worth it in the end.
Right.
But that enables him to make that level of content. And, you know, he knows what he's doing. Like Linus is one of the sharpest business minds I've ever known. Like Linus has advised me on so many things where I didn't take his advice, and it would have been the best thing I ever did if I took his advice. I just, you know, wasn't capable of in my current state. He is a very, very sharp business minded person, and he knows how to read the room, and he knows how to read the market, and he knows how to calculate risk. And that's why he's been so successful. It's like he knows when to put his hand in the cookie jar and when not to. Sure. And I've seen a lot of other, and the thing is, he helps a lot of other YouTubers, guys. Like the people, that's why I always get like offended when people like shit online. It's like, oh my God, he's a sellout. No, he's a media company and a businessman, and holy shit is he good at it, because he advises probably half of the tech YouTubers that you watch that are over 1 million subs. I guarantee you that he's advised in some way, shape, or form, because he's kind of the guy that's figured out the formula, right? Like if you go on YouTube and you click on his video, every other recommended video on the side is his. Find me another channel that does that. Like it's rare. Like he's figured out, like he knows the algorithms, he knows the thumbnails. He's got guys that are working on, you know, the descriptions, like everything he's got down to a science to where his videos just rank super high in SEO. And that's awesome. That's awesome that he's like figured that out. And that's why he's so fucking successful at it. Because you get people who are like, oh, I don't understand why he's so successful. All he does is run ads and he's a sellout and everything is like, no, dude, he knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. It's why his videos get like, you know, 3 to 9 million views or whatever. And, you know, and he's able to get 2 advertisers that are like begging to be on every single video.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason for that. And it's because it's a really well coordinated, really well-oiled machine.
Oh, yeah. He definitely knows what he's doing. It's good stuff.
It's definitely not what I'd want to do though. Like that's not my bag. Like I don't have the bandwidth for that.
And that's a big thing too. Is like he obviously has enjoyed. We're still talking about Linus, right?
Yeah.
Like, I did miss. Okay. He's obvious. I'm like, maybe we switch to Jay, but either way, it applies to the both of them.
No, Jay's been heavily advised by Linus. Linus advised both of us on a lot of things.
Oh, I bet. But like, he's clearly enjoyed every step of the road. Like, and that's I think especially for like guys like you and me, where it's like you have to enjoy the process. And I've said this a bunch, I don't enjoy doing pre-recorded content. I just don't like it, so I don't do it. Live content is where it's at. And you know, it works for me to an extent. I know that in order to grow my live content, I should try harder with YouTube and stuff, but it just sucks. I don't. Well,
you have to enjoy what you're doing, and Linus enjoys the whole process. Like, Linus loves having a media company. He loves coordinating with all these other people and putting all these other people in the spotlights and finding the right people. And it's cool to see that process. Like, because I don't just watch Linus anymore. I watch his other channels where he has other people as the presenter.
Sure.
And he's allowed those people, like he's helped build those people to a platform where it's like they present in a really, like, he gets the right people for the right product on the right channel. And I watch a lot of his content because I can't watch all of it because he produces like 18 videos a day. But I click on a lot of Linus's stuff and watch it because it's really, really well produced. And it is. He makes produced content. It's all, you know, they're looking at teleprompters. There's scripts for every video. They have writers. They have people that can do the touch up, like before it goes online. They have a camera operator. They have editors. Like the whole process there is like a media production company, just like if you were a cable TV show.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I don't know, in some ways, it seems like it has to grow that way. And that also kind of puts me off. I don't know. I like, you know, your stuff is rough. I love all the crazy shit in the background. There's not a lot of polish and stuff. It's just, you get to be you, you know, and that's the trade-off. There is a trade-off to be made there. Like, I'm not going to do this because there are big guys. Don't get me wrong. There are big guys that are like, they're one man run and gun. Yeah. But here's the funny thing that you guys probably don't know is I guarantee you that about 80% of the people that you think are just a one-man band are not one-man bands anymore. Oh, they probably have at least one or two people in the back editing videos. Exactly. And keeping up on social media or something.
Yeah, because I talked to a lot of them and they all give me shit all the time. They're like, dude, why don't you have an editor? Like, dude, why aren't you just like shooting the video and just putting it on a OneDrive and having your editor like deal with everything and then doing a preview and being done with it?
You could.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. But the couple times I did have people edit my videos, people instantly called me out like, oh my God, that's not your shitty format. Like, but I could find an editor that could replicate my shitty format, right? Like, I mean, I could absolutely do that. Other YouTubers do.
Some Vietnamese kid would easily be able to do that. Not to be like super racist or anything, but I've looked into like logo making and video editing and stuff like that, and it does tend to be on that side of the Pacific
Dude, there's
Ocean.
a guy on Fiverr who will edit, and he's got good rating, really good rate. He edits for a bunch of YouTubers, but he'll give you like I think it's a 24-hour turnaround on a 10-minute video for like, I think it's like $75.
That's pretty decent.
All in for a 10-minute edited content. He'll even add the music from the YouTube library. He'll even generate a thumbnail. Like, I mean, it's like if you want somebody who you just send them the workload, although, you know, he has to be able to accept you because he only has so much bandwidth.
Right.
But yeah, no, they're all over on Fiverr. Like if you just wanted like a Fiverr to do your editing, you could do that like really cheap. If you wanted a dedicated guy, like,
actually,
yeah, it can be worth it. It can absolutely be worth it.
Take the VOD of one of my PC builds and just be like, here's, I don't know, $50. See what you can do with it. Make it good. And
just keep in mind, these guys are saying this is the thing is like, oh, how do you get somebody to edit a whole video for $50 when it takes you like 8 hours? Because it takes them 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
like they're fast. They know all the kids. They're like Taryn or whatever at Linus Groups. If you've ever watched that guy edit in person, holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, he has like 3 keyboards. He's like ding, 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 playing back at like 3x speed, cut, clip, transition, all the transitions and stuff, and all the little music stuff. He just has hotkeys to do it all, and he can like edit through an entire video in like a half an hour.
It's especially when you have a formula, like they know, okay, this is a review video. Okay, so we're going to do these things every time to every, is it a computer? Is it a case? Is it a TV? Whatever. Like we know how to do it. The initial, like that takes, you know, years of experience and stuff. Like I'm sure originally Taryn sucked just like anybody else, but he's been doing it for how many decades or whatever. The dude,
So the Linus, the thing I think is Linus is like I know I'm like fangirling a little over Linus, but also keep in mind, me and Linus, we don't communicate a ton in public, but I consider him a good friend and we talk in DMs. You know, out of because when you talk publicly and stuff, like people start making a big deal out of it. So a lot of the people I communicate with, people don't even like know that we have any relationship or even know each other. And I DM people about YouTube stuff all the time. And the thing Linus is really good at is recognizing talent. Linus is like an insane talent scout. Like even at one point, Linus even offered me a job years and years ago. And when I turned him down, he said, "You can't blame me for trying to get you while you're cheap." And I found that to be a huge compliment. Like the fact that he extended me a job because he only lives like, you know, 2.5 hours north of me. So I was like really flattered by that, but he is really good at getting the right people. Like he knows like the way people present on camera, the energy level that they have and stuff. Like every single person that works at that company is either good behind the camera or good in front of the camera. And he's picked those people specifically for those roles. And sometimes he even pulls them out and like puts them in front of the camera, even though there's somebody that isn't really comfortable in front of the camera. And he'll still get them in the camera, you know, to test things, to test the waters, to see how things work, right? And he's really fucking good at picking the right people in front of the cameras. Oh my God. Like everybody I've seen him do like tech shortcuts or God, is James? Fucking love James. James is awesome. The dude that literally looks like the Hunger Games guy. James, the first time I saw him, I told him that. He's like, I've never gotten that before, being sarcastic. But James has an insane personality. Like if you've ever met him in real life, he's just super, super funny. He's super relaxed under massive amounts of stress. You'd never know he's under any stress. Like he is just the perfect guy to shove in front of a camera. Yeah. And now they got the new lady that I've been seeing showing up in a bunch of videos that I always forget her name. Madeline. Is it Madeline? Maddie or Madeline? And she's actually great in front of the camera. I think she's worked at, she was like an intern, and then she's worked at Linus for like, what, like a year? And now I'm just starting to see her in front of the camera, except for like the old obscure videos, like the PC build and stuff. And she's really good in front of the camera, and her interactions with the person behind the camera, which is something I've really been enjoying. Madison, that's what it is. Maddie. She's just fucking awesome. Like like Linus knows exactly the right person for the right job, and he's rarely wrong. And that's why he's so damn successful at this stuff, man. Hey, Miss Liz, thank you for the 10 Canadian dollars. Said to my friend's heart. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Miss Liz.
Hello.
Gotta give her the oh, is that how you do it? You like bring it up, drop it in? My hands are not the proper shape. She was just hired, not a year. Oh, I thought she's been there for a year. She did a video with him like a year ago. Was she not an intern for a long time? I know she just started showing up. I didn't see her in videos. Of
some AMD video or something like that. But yeah, only just recently is she on payroll.
Riley needs to get rid of the 70s porn stash. No, Riley is amazing. Honestly, they do a great job. They do an absolute great job. And he picks the right person for the technology that's being presented. Like Riley, I love the way Riley does the news, because Riley can literally read the script on the teleprompter without you knowing that he's reading a script on a teleprompter. And that is a hard thing to do. There's a reason I've never used a teleprompter. Because anytime I'm reading a teleprompter, you can tell I'm reading a teleprompter.
Sure.
And it's a really like niche skill to be able to look at the camera and not look like you're just following a bunch of words on the teleprompter. And he does a fantastic job of that. And I wish I could do that, but I can't. I've tried, and it comes out way too robotic. Anytime I got to use any bandwidth up here to actually like read and compose the words, yeah, you've lost the character, right? So everything I do is just shoot from the hip and edit later. Yeah. And I've always loved that format. But the thing is, you're not going to get like super big and super famous and make like crap loads of money today on YouTube on average. There's always the edge cases, but you're not going to do that unless you're willing to graduate to the levels, work with companies, cross promote, work with other big YouTubers and big names, and, you know, and get corporate sponsorships so that they'll push you to their audience so that they're aware of you, that you're reviewing their products. When you have that, your growth goes off into the stratosphere. That's like how you do it. And then what you do is you want to produce more content on a more fixed schedule. So you bring in editors, you bring in producers to get the ads. So you're not spending all your time emailing people. You get a brand guy and you pay him a cut, and say any brand deals you bring in, you can keep 5 or 10% of the take. And then they're really motivated to get the most money that they can out of an advertiser and do all that negotiation. And then all you do is get a little thing in your teleprompter. It's like, today we're talking about Squarespace, or today we're talking about this, or today we're talking about Audible. And then you just, you know, you do your segue, and then they cut to another ad where you're wearing completely different clothes, and you already did that ad so that you can do it over and over and over again. So there's a whole strategy to doing this as a business and growing into it. But all that stuff costs money. If you got to hire people, costs money. If you got to build a set, that costs money. If you got to bring in people and editors and stuff, that all costs money, which means now your cost per video has to go up dramatically for you to still make the same amount of money. So like, for instance, if I made a video and it gets 1 million views and AdSense is enabled, and, you know, you got a CPM of like $10, that's high, but like a CPM, I make a shitload of money off one video. Like I can make one video a month or one video every 3 months, and I'd live just great. But if you're a company where you're paying 30 employees and you literally, your payroll alone is like, you know, $3, $4, $5 million, and your studio is probably another, you know, a couple $100,000 a year or more, and you're paying for all the utilities, and you're paying for everybody's insurance, and you're paying for, you know, whatever, depending on where you live, what you're paying for. Once you add all that up, now you're like, every video, now that 1 million views is like completely just to pay for your bottom line. And then everything after that is where you start making your money. So it means you have to make more videos to get the same amount of money as the owner of the company. So there is risk involved. Like it definitely is. So you have to make sure that your margins get bigger and bigger and bigger so that you can survive You know, if you have a video that doesn't make any money or whatever, you can eat the cost of that. If you have a downturn where AdSense is disabled or YouTube screws you over for a week or two, you can survive that and move on. And that takes a lot of business sense to be able to figure that stuff out. With me, it's just, I'm just fluid. I just go wherever I feel like going and do whatever I feel like doing. Sometimes I make some money, sometimes I don't, but average over time, as long as it's enough to survive, I just keep doing it. And that is a shitty business model that if you're running a business, you should probably never do that and rely on that. But that's just how I do it.
Hey man, as long as you're able to keep a roof over your head and all that jazz, like do it. Yeah. Do it the way that works for you, man. Yeah, and that goes to all you guys out there too. Like, I mean, I do all this side stuff because it's not what keeps the lights on, right? I'd like to get it to a point where it can replace my 9 to 5. I would love that. I would be ecstatic to be able to do PC building on all the time.
Yeah,
that'd be like my soul yearns to build PCs live all the time, every day, all day. And I'd love to get to that point. And I'll get there. I feel very confident that I will slowly get there. It's taking steps and stuff, but I just do what works for me, what I know I'm capable of doing. And so far I've done pretty okay. I mean, well, I just sold a motherboard last night. I sold a PC. Weird tangent. I just have to say this. Sold a PC to a dude about a week ago. Within 12 hours, he had reposted the same PC for $300 more than he bought it from me for.
Oh, you got scalped.
No. He's never going to get. See, he paid me $650. He's got it listed for $950. Never going to happen. If he parted it out, maybe, because like cards and chip prices are all over the fucking place right now. But yeah, like part of me was like, damn, that's cold. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? If he can get $950 for it, good for him. Because I had it listed for $800 for about a week and didn't get a hit. So,
dude, you just have these people who are just flipping shit, right? Find a good deal. It's like, I mean,
I'm in the same boat. Like that's where I'm at right now. Is like, I want to do that. So
good on him. Is this has happened to me before too. Like this is a really common thing. Like actually, this just brought up a great story that I didn't think about until you said it. By the way, I want to thank Scott. Scott, thank you for the £5 and the support, man. We love you. Thank you for that super chat. So when I worked at Microsoft, I had this little brick phone. I think it was made by Compaq. This is the Windows Mobile stuff. This is like way back when there was no iPhones or anything. It was a Windows Mobile phone that was like this like little brick. I think it was made by Compaq. And you'd slide the keyboard out from underneath it. And it was like a screen and then the keyboard slid out underneath. It was really advanced for its time. It was a super, super expensive phone. And I broke the screen on it. Like I cracked the screen on it. And so I put it up in the Micro News at Microsoft, which is an internal publication. It's like Microsoft's internal employee only newspaper. I don't even know if it's still around. But I put in there, I said, hey, I've got this Compaq thing. This is how much money I want for it because it needs a replacement screen. So I factored that cost into it and I didn't want to do it myself because I figured I'd fuck it up. So I'm like, okay, I'll sell it for this much. And I get a guy that messages me and he goes, oh, hey dude, my mom's phone died or whatever. And I'd really love to get her for this, but I only have like $300. He like lowballed me hard. He was literally going to pay me like, 30% or 40% less than what I asked for the phone. And he's like, dude, and so I replied back to him and I was like, yeah, dude, I don't know. There's some other people that are showing interest or whatever. And he replies back and he goes, dude, but you literally just make my mom's life. We both work here at Microsoft. It'd just be like really, really cool if he did this. And I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to give it to this guy for like next to nothing, whatever. It's like, I could get more money selling to somebody else, but this is a guy that works at the company. He's in the building right next to me, building 27. So you can just walk right over and he comes over and he's like, oh, thank you so much, man. Oh, my mom's going to love this so much. He's like, I'm going to take this home and replace the screen, tonight. I'm going to order the parts and I'm going to do it. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And he's like, thank you. So he goes over there. Not even 7 days later, I look on the Micro News and my phone is for sale from this same guy with the fixed screen for $300 more than what I sold it to him for. I immediately messaged him and on the internal email, I literally, the subject was, what the fuck? And I said, dude, I sold this to you to give to your mom and you go and fix it and try to flip it on the same fucking newspaper that I sold it on internally the company. I said, you better make this right now. Make this right now. And so he replies back to me. He's like, he didn't think I'd see it. He replies back, goes, oh, no, dude. Oh, yeah, no, I showed it to my mom and she didn't want it. So I just put up for sale. I was like, bullshit, then sell it back to me. Sell it back to me for what you paid, and I'll pay for the screen replacement, because you're not going to go profiting $300 off my ass or whatever. And he replies back, he's like, oh, dude, please don't make a big deal out of this. What do I got to do or whatever? I was like, okay, well, you split the difference on your profit. If that phone sells, you're going to come and give me $150. That's what I told him. And he's like, deal, done. And he literally walks over like a couple days later. He gives me $150 in cash. And he's like, dude, yeah, I'm so sorry for the misunderstanding or whatever. And I just gave him like laser eyes. I was like, you son of a bitch. Don't ever fucking do this again. I couldn't believe he had the balls to do that. He literally sold it in the same section of the same paper I sold it to him in.
What a goob.
Fed me a bullshit story just to make $300 off me. And I was like, oh, you son of a bitch. He still made $150 so he was happy. Right. But I was like, my God, the balls on these people, the stories and shit that they make up to try to get you to sell it to him cheap. Yeah. And then they just turn and flip that shit on you. It's like, oh my God.
The dude who bought that PC from me tried to low. So I had it listed for 800 for a while, dropped it to 650. Then he messages me and says, hey, will you take 550? I go, nah. I'm hard set at 650, and didn't even try to haggle anymore. He just said, okay, like, I can meet you. Let's do it. I'm like, you fucker. Wow.
Yeah.
But
no, it's,
whatever.
It's just, oh my God. The shit like that makes me mad. No, I understand that people like, they got to get their piece and they got to make a living. But here's my problem is when they buy it under the pretense that it's for themselves and they're fully intentional on like to get a good deal. And then they're fully intending on just reselling it. The lie is what bothers me. Like, I don't care if they just offer me what I'm asking. Like, if they offer me what I'm asking, they buy it and they want to go resell it because they found somebody who's willing to pay 3 times as much. Fucking rock on. No ill will towards them. Not at all. Like, that's just being enterprising as fuck. But when you are telling me, like, dude, and this happens every time. Give me a
sob story.
Oh my fucking God. Every time I sell something on Facebook Marketplace, oh God, can I don't have that much money. Are you willing to come down like $100? Like, hey, I just live right down the street. I can walk over and pick it up right now. $100 less cash. And I'm like, nope, I'm not interested. Oh, come on, man. We're like neighbors. Like, if you want to use it, you can even come over and use it anytime you want. Like, they just feed you this like random shit trying to get a deal. I sold a TV to a guy where he showed up to the house and he handed me $20 less than what the TV was worth. And I was like, dude, you're missing $20. And he's like, oh, I burned $20 of gas driving my donk from Redmond to come pick up the TV. And I'm like, that's not my fucking problem. That's not how this works. And he's like, yo, dude, no, I burned like $20. It's going to take me at least $20 in gas, dude. So I'm like, no, dude, I don't pay your fucking gas bill to come pick this up. Like, that's not how it works. And he literally was like fighting me on it for like 10 minutes. And then finally he gives me the $20. And I give him the TV, and then it ended up being the most nightmare purchase of my life. He tried to return it. He showed up with a gun on himself at my house. Yeah, it was fucking nightmare. Like, the dude literally showed up to my house with a gun, flashed a gun on his waist to force me to take back the TV and give him his money back. So I took the TV back, gave him his money back, and I get a call from him 24 hours later saying, dude, I got to get that TV back, because he found somebody who wanted to buy it off him for more than what he paid me. And I wanted to tell him to fuck off. I legit wanted to tell him to fuck off. But at this point I was a little shaken. So I was like, dude, I said, this is final. If you come and pick it up, this is final. We're never fucking doing this again. Okay. I'm going to call the fucking cops if you ever come to my house again. No, dude. You know, he's being like super nice. He shows up. He's like, oh man, thank you for understanding. He walks up, he grabs the TV off my carpet, like goes out. I never saw the dude again. So he obviously found somebody who'd buy it. But after that, I'm like, I'm never having another person ever come to my house to pick up something again, unless they're like my neighbor and I know where they live. Like, if it's somebody in the neighborhood, I can go over to their house and beat the shit out of them if they try any of that shit. But this dude literally, after that experience, I was like, man, does this guy just go pick up shit like all the time? It was Craigslist. Actually, it was Craigslist that I did this on. And the dude like shows up and sort of flashes a gun at me, and I was like, holy shit. So when he came back to pick up the TV, I literally had the AR-15 like loaded and sitting next to the couch. So get him. Yeah, and I literally told him when he came back to the TV, I was like, leave your fucking gun in the car. That's what I told him. And he did. He complied. But I was like ready. I was like, yeah, am I gonna have to fucking shoot this guy? Like, I was really, for $200, it was not worth it. It was not worth the stress and oh my God, it was such a stupid fucking thing, man. And then I had another similar experience where I went and met somebody at a Safeway. So I literally go meet him in the Safeway parking lot to like give him the thing. They keep trying to take it out of my car before they pay me. And I'm like, no. I keep stepping in front of him. I'm like, what's up? He's like, oh, no, I'm just going to grab it and throw it in my car and then we can do business. And I was like, no, that's not how it works, dude. Yeah, I was like, no, you give me the fucking money and I'll give you like what I came down here to do. And the dude like literally didn't have enough money. Like, he was going to try to move it over and then lowball me and be like, this is all I got, man. I'm sorry. And then he already has it in his car. And if I don't take it, he just gets it and robs me. And so he's like, oh, dude, I don't have enough money. And so I was like, no, then you go inside the store. There's a fucking ATM in there. You can go and get the rest of the money. And he did. I sat there and I waited for him to go inside of the store, get the ATM, and he comes out and he's like, oh man, it charged me like a $3 fee. So man, I'm going to pay you like $3. That's not my fucking problem. You knew how much it was when you came to pick it up. So what it makes me wonder is how much that must work. If they're doing it that much, they must have people that feel pressured that just cave and just let them have it cheap.
They must.
Like when they meet them. It must be an intimidation thing.
Thankfully, I have had a pretty good track selling stuff. Like nobody's like tried to rob me. I haven't had I've sold maybe 4 computers that I've built. And I have no problems. They've never complained. I had one guy that he hired me. He had a bucket of parts. He hired me to put it together for him. He did contact me about a year later, just asking for some general troubleshooting stuff, and I helped him as best I could, but wasn't like upset with the transaction or anything.
Yeah,
I feel like I've been pretty lucky. Plus, I mean, I do a good job. There's not much to complain about.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is like now when I sell stuff, I just sell it on local community groups on Facebook. So the person that's coming to get it is always somebody who's local to me, and like we always know somebody who knows them. So it's never just pure strangers that are outside of town. Like I need to know like where they're at so that they don't pull that shit.
I do think that has been part of the success is like it's been Facebook or OfferUp, that kind of a thing. We've had a local at least, and like I can find you,
Yep. So that's why I stopped selling on eBay, dude. Like I used to sell on eBay, like I have an account on there, and I sold shit on eBay for probably 10 years. And the reason that I stopped selling shit on eBay is because 3 times in a row within the course of like 2 months, I sold something, I got the money, I shipped it to them. They signed for the package, took delivery of it, reported to eBay that they never received the package. They got a full refund for it. And then when I emailed them, they would never respond. And then I'd open a dispute with eBay, and then eBay would hold the dispute open for like 2 months. And 2 of them, they ruled in favor of the buyer not receiving it, even though I had the signatures. Like I had the signature from UPS that they took delivery, but their claim was they received an empty box. And eBay believed them, even though I sent them the product and I even had pictures of it as I was putting it into the box. And he's like, no, I received an empty box. So maybe a UPS employee like stole it out of the box or something, but that's not my problem. And one of the guys I even caught, he was trying to resell the thing that I sold him on Craigslist, like literally on eBay, on Craigslist in his area, because somebody was like, hey, you should go check and see if these people are like reselling the shit. And I kept an eye on it. It didn't even take a week. It was like a week and it showed up on Craigslist, and he used the same email address that he had on eBay. So I know it's my thing, because why would he have 2 of them, right? So then I sent mailed his email address, and I was like, dude, like you disputed this and you won. I'm gonna fucking call the cops if you don't send this shit back to me like right now. And it was a phone. It was a Hitachi HC. I remember it's an HC1000 Hitachi phone, like a Windows mobile phone again. And so what I did is I called. Oh no, that's what he did. He sold the phone. That's right. He wouldn't send it back to me. He sold the phone. So the Craigslist item went away, and he sold the phone. But I called the carrier, the cellular carrier, because it only worked with one carrier. And I gave him the IMEI number because I had pictures of the phone with it. And I told them, and I listed it as a stolen device. So the person that he sold it to went in to activate it, and they confiscated the phone, and they sent it back to me. So the person who bought, which I kind of feel bad, because the person that bought the phone from probably thought that they were buying a legitimate phone. But as soon as it went in, I get a call from, I think at the time it was Verizon. And Verizon called me and said that in another state, they said that they confiscated the phone because the person came in, tried to activate it. It came up as stolen. So they confiscated the phone from them, and they shipped it back to me.
Nice.
And I was like, because I called him and said that it was stolen and it was registered on my account before. So I was like, so I finally did get the phone back. Like it was like fucking months later. That was like 3 months. I finally get the phone back. But I was like, Jesus. But I really hope what happened is that they confiscated the person's phone, and then they went back with the police for the dude selling them stolen property. I never heard anything beyond that point, but I'd imagine if I bought something and ended up being stolen goods and got taken away from me, I'd go after the fucker that sold it to me.
Right.
So I'm really hoping that that's what happened, but I never heard from the dude again after that. So who knows? Just crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. Yeah. Hey, Kashari, thank you for the $5 super chat. And Scott, thank you for the £5.
Thank you.
Kashari said, I had a guy try that when I sold my Tesla. Wow, you wouldn't think somebody buying a Tesla would do shit like that. Said I can't pay, that I'll pay $10,000 less. Otherwise, I'll go get a condo. I told him, congrats on your new condo. Yeah, really? He like tried to lowball you when he came to buy it?
Get out of here.
Yeah, it happens to a lot of people. Well, even the guy that bought my Subaru from. I don't know. Did I ever tell you the story about how I bought my Subaru WRX STI?
No.
So a guy up in Bellingham, right? That's like, what, a 2.5 hour drive? 2.5 hour drive?
Yeah.
So from Bellingham, he was an Auto Trader, and I looked in Auto Trader, and he was selling this 2005 Subaru WRX STI, low miles. I think it only had 23,000 miles on it when I bought it, but it was like slammed and had like 20-inch rims and shit on it. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely like, the first thing I did was undo all that shit when I bought it. But he messages me, and I said, hey, can I test drive the car? And he goes, dude, he just replies back to me, and he said, dude, like I've had like 3 fucking kids contact me to test drive my car that had no fucking intention on buying it. He's like, I am not doing anything unless you have a fucking cashier's check in hand. He's like, if you don't want to buy it, that's fine. But I want to see that you have the money, like a check to me. You can go back to the bank and cancel it. But I want to see a fucking, like, I want to see that before I bring my car up your way.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. I'm totally serious. So I went to the bank and I got the check and I messaged him a screenshot. I covered up the number so he couldn't just duplicate it and cash it. But I covered up and I showed him that I had it with the amount. And he drove the car up to some hours. I test drove it for like 10 minutes. I looked it over and I was like, this is exactly what I want. And I already have the check, so I can't lowball him because the check is for a fixed amount. And I hand him the check and he hands me the title and it was like done. Nice. And then I drove him home. I had to drive him home like 2 hours. I literally knocked out of work and drove him home to Bellingham and then brought him back so he didn't have to take public transit. And then I found out when I went to his house, he like shows me he has a Lancer Evolution MR. And I was like, why didn't you sell me that? Like, why are you selling me the STI? It was a white Lancer MR. And that's why he was selling the STIs, because he had both cars. He had the STI and the Lancer. And he's like, it doesn't make sense. I can't drive him enough. He's like, I like the Lancer better. And I'm like, well, no shit, Sherlock. Of course you do.
Nice.
But nice. It was a really, really nice car. But yeah, that's how I got my Subaru. But yeah, that's how many times this guy got screwed by people on Auto Trader that were just literally coming and test driving his car with no intention on buying it and couldn't even afford it. They just wanted to drive an STI.
Yeah.
Because back then they were a big deal. They're not now. Now they're a dime a dozen. But back in the day, that was considered a pretty baller car.
Yeah.
There still are people that think
it's still pretty baller. Yeah,
it is. So, hey, you want to talk about the SN8 going boomy booms after a successful landing?
Well, that's kind of on purpose, right? Like, it landed fine and then they blew it up?
No, they didn't blow it up. It blew up on its own.
Oh, so I thought it was a successful.
No, it was technically a successful landing, but one of the struts was like damaged or something and like folded under it. So it was leaning at an angle. And then there was a fire. Like when the engines turned out, there was still a fire burning at the bottom. So fuel was leaking, like liquid methane was leaking out. And it just sat there and burned like a candle for like 14 minutes or something like that. And then at the end of 14 minutes, the whole bottom just explodes into a giant fireball and launches the whole thing into the air. And it does like a nosedive down on the pad. Wow. But it was crazy because it was completely unexpected. Because it looked like it was finished. Like it came down, it decelerated properly. It was standing straight up and down. Like it looked like it was successful. Now, to be fair, it doesn't really matter. They weren't going to fly the craft again anyways, right? Like it was literally, they were using this craft to test one thing. I'm sure SN11 is probably already built.
Right.
So
right next door.
So the best that they could have hoped for is it probably would have ended up in a museum or something as like the first successful landing of Starship. But it was just so weird that it was just sitting there on fire for like 14 minutes. And they're like, oh, it'll just peter itself out. And then it just suddenly hits like perfect stoichiometry with all the fuel. It just kaboom. And it, I mean, it launched it way the hell up in the air too. Like, I mean, it was a big jump, but technically speaking, it was successful because the whole flight was to gather data and to try the lighting all three engines and then backing off the engine instead of trying to light just two, which is what they needed for the deceleration. They light all three. And then if all three successfully light, then they can turn them off, which is easier than trying to turn them on. Okay. So the idea is use more than you need and then back off as necessary to save the craft. And that ended up paying off. They ended up getting a successful landing out of it. However, the landing jarred it enough that you know, the tank was breached or a line was breached and fuel was dumping out. And then eventually the fire just burned and compromised the tank and the tank exploded at the bottom of the craft. So, I mean, I haven't looked at all the details of it. So I don't know. Wait, it says Elon confirmed the landing speed was too high. Oh, well, I'd imagine it was a little bit too high because it did buckle the strut. So, but still, it was standing. It was. I mean, it was a landing. It didn't ripple up the sides. It didn't compress it down and exploded immediately. So
yeah, it looked legit. It looked like, oh, hooray!
Yeah, it sounded. So. You know what? If you watch the footage, they turn on all three engines. They fired beautifully this time. So I think they fixed the header tank, the header tank pressure issue.
It's so cool watching them like wiggle around in there.
It so is. So all three engines fired successfully, but it looks like they cut off the two engines like too quickly. Like, and that's probably why it didn't. They needed to decelerate more than the one engine could obviously do. Yeah, so it just biffed the ground a little hard. But they had tons of headroom. Like if they had kept those other two thrusters or the other two engines going for like another second, it would have landed like a pillow, like a feather on a pillow. So they're close, man. So the next one will be successful. I am confident that the next one is going to be absolutely successful. They figured out how to do the maneuver. It rolled over. It landed right where it was supposed to. So even with the pitch maneuver and the roll, I mean, it stuck right on the pad where it was supposed to be. So I think they're literally one launch away from this being a 100% success. But we were watching live on Twitch. We were watching Tim Dodd, Everyday Astronaut. Oh, and cool. He was watching. He's like, oh my God, it's so successful. And he's talking for like 14 minutes. And he's like, man, this is so good. He's like, oh man, it didn't explode on the pad. This is so great. And then like, right as he's saying that, it's like boom on his camera. And then you wait a couple of seconds because he's miles away, right? So you wait a couple of seconds and it's like boom, and it shakes like the whole building with his camera. It was a pretty massive explosion. But Tim is just like, what happened? Like, what? You could tell it was totally unexpected. It completely caught him off guard. Oh man, I gotta piss like a racehorse. Give me a couple minutes.
Me too.
Oh, well, here, let me go first real quick and I'll be right back. I promise I won't even wash my hands. It'll be that quick.
That's funny. SpaceX launcher lander just look like in Thunderbird's aircraft. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. I was reading the synopsis of the flight on the SpaceX site. The last paragraph was kind of funny how they described it. I love the unscheduled, sudden disassembly, right? That's my favorite. Success, more testing required. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to just like start throwing people out, you know, that left and right away. But they're getting better and better, which is super, super, super cool. I think it's, man, so great. Yeah, right. The explosion.
I'm coming, Ox.
Oh God.
Okay, relay, go.
Okay.
Just pinch the tip, bro. Pinch the tip. Hey, I'm an old man. I gotta pee. I can't even make it 3 hours without taking a piss. I can't. Probably time to get my prostate checked again. Let's see here. Scrolling through. Watch Scott Manley's channel and you'll see what really happened. Yeah, I'll check it out later. I subscribe to Scott Manley. I just haven't watched his video on it yet. He's awesome. Oh yeah, Andre, it goes up pretty high. The explosion, people thought that they blew it up on purpose, but the charges are actually in the center of the rocket. So if they had detonated the chargers to blow up the rocket, it would have blown up from the center and it would have basically just vaporized the thing. The fact that it blows up out of the bottom looks like a shitload of fuel escaped really, really quickly out the bottom of the craft and ignited. So, but again, I don't really know, oh, Paul said the landing legs didn't all lock. Oh, so it didn't crush the landing leg. It just didn't lock in place. So it leaned. Well, I mean, it still obviously hit too hard though. Cause it did breach and cause a leak of fuel, which is like super duper dangerous. Like you don't want, I'm just glad. Like, I mean, they would have waited until all the fuel was out before they approached the pad anyways, but that's still a pretty scary situation to just have a spacecraft sitting there with that much liquid methane and LOX on board, just like pissing it out. Right. Yeah. Like that's pretty dangerous. Scary. So yeah, somebody said one of the landing legs didn't all lock. You know what's funny is this isn't the first time that's happened. Like remember the Falcon 9 rocket landing where the strut didn't lock? I remember that one too, where it was like a near successful landing and it just fell over like a tree because the strut wasn't locked in place. I remember that.
It's pretty cool though. They've been doing great.
Yeah, they can figure out $1 billion rocket that can land the wrong side down, yet they can't figure out how to get the kickstand to work. I think that was the tweet I made back in the day. I was like, they can land a rocket against all odds, but they can't figure out how to lock a kickstand. Like it's just like a funny problem to have, but it's like one of those things where it's like you're not really focused on the little problems, you're focused on the big ones.
Well, yeah, it's some of that you just figure out because it is a simple problem.
Yeah, Peter said it technically flew twice. That is true. And they still didn't blow it up. Like it literally goes up and then it falls back down and lands sideways on the pad and it's still mostly intact. Did they end up blowing it up? Like, is it still? I never watched to the end. Did they end up like blowing the charges and vaporizing the thing, or did they just say fuck it and just let it piss out all of its fuel and then like go in and like salvage it? Because it would be cool to see that still in a museum, like just all smashed up on the side and everything, like from taking off and like falling down. If they could, that would have been cool. Let's see here. Oh, Jeremy, my man, thank you for that $5 super chat, you generous son of a bitch. We love you. We love you a long time. He said they're only using 40% throttle on landing for the one engine because that is the lowest threshold before the engine won't stay on. Okay. Wait a second. It 40% thrust on one engine, they're able to decelerate that thing coming down towards the ground? That blows my mind. Like at 40% thrust? God, those must be like some insanely powerful engines. I don't know how much thrust does one of those put out? Like what?
A lot.
It's methane. I know it's methane. They're using liquid methane and LOX. So, whereas what did the Raptor engine use? Or not the Raptor engine. What was the one before it? Was that the Raptor on the Falcon 9? Because the Falcon 9 used different fuel. I think Starship uses a completely different fuel, right? Methane, which is like cheaper and more readily available. I don't know. I don't know as much about this shit as I should, but I find it hugely fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
I'm one of those people where it's like, yeah, I'm just an enthusiast, right? I'm like the guy that sits there and watches the Super Bowl but doesn't understand the basic rules of the game.
Right.
The Merlin engine.
It's just freaking cool, man. Okay, it's just freaking cool. I don't know how the Sky Crane works, but it's freaking cool as shit to watch it work. Okay.
Wait, so MD Hofsty said, okay, fastest turnaround ever. They were out cleaning it up the next day. But did they blow it up? I might have missed it. Hold on. Landed 50 miles an hour, so that was pretty high. I mean, 15 miles an hour doesn't sound like it's that high, but when you're talking about that much mass, that's a lot.
Yeah, right.
Like if you crashed like a 10-ton fucking like semi truck at 15 miles an hour, it's going to do a lot of damage. But did they blow it up? That's what I want to know. Or did they just go out and clean it up as is? Because you'd think that there was always, well, no, the liquid methane would definitely, if there was a breach, all the methane's going to drain out. And they're going to be able to drain out and slowly drain out the locks too. So they can get it safe to approach, I'm guessing. Okay, good. They did not blow it up. Okay, so they basically just left it for a day to just off gas and piss out all its fuel. And then they went and got near it and recovered it. So the first motor ran on kerosene. The Merlins ran on kerosene. And then this one runs on methane, right? Huh. And methane is, I believe, more environmentally friendly than kerosene or something. Like, why are they using methane? Like, why did they choose methane over kerosene? Because I thought kerosene was like pretty readily available. Let's see here. Okay, the explosives would have already blown up in the first explosion. No, not necessarily. If the explosives had been detonated by the primary explosion, it would have taken out the whole craft. The fact that only the bottom blew out proves the explosions were not the explosives weren't detonated. It's entirely possible the mechanism that allows them to detonate those charges was damaged in the explosion, but the primary explosive that they used to blow it up requires a detonator. You can't just light the shit on fire or just like hit it with a hammer and set it off. It's incredibly stable.
It looks fake.
It does, doesn't it?
Like the way that the thing comes down and especially like there's a far away shot, it looks cheeseball and super fake. But I mean, almost. It's like your brain doesn't want to believe that this thing's coming down on its tail like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is real because people were physically there watching it, right? There's like 100 different YouTubers that I trust that are like there watching the whole thing in person. So the flat earthers don't win this one. Oh, okay, wait. Methane can be made on Mars with CO2, and also it burns cooler and cleaner than kerosene, which is good for usability. Oh, okay, so that's why they're going for methane as availability.
So here's a blip from space.com.
Ooh, let's get it.
Starship SN10 spacecraft touched down successfully after a high-altitude test flight today, March 3rd, a major milestone for the company and its crewed Mars ambitions, but the vehicle didn't manage to hold itself together, exploding about 8 minutes after landing. All right, so then they deep dive into that. Something went wrong with the video. Try again. Yeah.
I mean, I could tell it was leaning when it landed. The first thing I said, because we watched it live on Twitch, and the first thing I said is that thing ain't straight. Okay. Like, I was like, dude, that thing's leaning. Like something's wrong with it. And then there was a fire coming out of the bottom. People were like, oh no, that's just the engines, man. That's just the engines like shutting down. I was like, dude, I don't think the engines take like 5 minutes of like burning up the side of the craft to shut down. So I'm pretty sure the fire weakened something.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it took 14 minutes to blow up. Yep.
And then they have a shot of it like, huh.
I mean, it's a hell of an explosion too. Like when it blows up out the bottom, it's like all the fuel just got released at once. The fireball goes in every direction by like hundreds and hundreds of feet.
It says some flames were visible near SN10's base shortly after landing, and that was a sign of things to come. The vehicle exploded on the landing pad at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern, rising up and crashing down again in a huge fireball. 2 elements.
Oh, Mario said it actually bounces. If you watch the video, it actually bounces. So when it sets down, it actually bounces and settles again. So that's pretty impressive. It didn't blow up just doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So it comes down. Poof.
Mr. Keg, the engines were not off axis on this one.
Yeah, so, you can see it's a little crooked, and then boom, just blows up from below.
Yeah, Mr. Keg said it can't be fully straight as it lands because the engines are off axis. No, that wouldn't affect it standing once it already landed. But the motors on this one were in the middle.
Wow.
So they didn't do the offset thing this time. At least it didn't look like it. It looked like they were perfectly in the center, and before it looked like one was way off to the side. Hey, Jeremy Redfern, think of another $5, dude. You are awesome. Thank you for that support.
Thank you. Hell
he said
yeah,
not about SpaceX, but also love your content. You actually taught me how to make my first web browser, and I haven't looked back since. So thank you. Oh man, another Codegasm enthusiast.
Make a web browser?
I did. I wrote
Cool.
I made a video, the Codegasm episode. I don't remember which episode number it was so long ago, but no, I show you how to use SHDoc VW DLL, which is the HTML5 rendering engine from Internet Explorer. And I show you how to implement that into your own program to write your own web browser using the rendering engine from IE as the base. And you can do anything with it. Like you have 100% control. You can make it like replace graphics. You can block ads. You can refactor HTML. You can do anything you want with it.
What? Yo. So at the very end of this article, it says SpaceX already has an operational Starship flight targeted to launch that in 2023. The Dear Moon mission, booked by Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa.
Yeah, this is the billionaire Japanese businessman that wants to do a lap around the moon, right?
Yeah. He says Maezawa is looking for crew members to join him on a 6-day journey around the moon. How freaking cool.
There's a lot of room inside a Starship too. Like compared to the space shuttle, it's like it's a mansion, dude.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's freaking cool. That's cool.
They said that their plan is at one time they're gonna have a Starship that can carry like over 100 people.
Dude, that'd be neat.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
And they're planning on doing interplanetary stuff, like going up and then just going around and landing in another country.
Dude, it would be neat to just for like 90 minutes, right? That's about how long it takes to orbit the at least what I think that's how long it takes the ISS to orbit the planet to go.
I think it's about once every 90 minutes. Yeah.
So I'd be down. That'd be sick. 10 grand or something to be part of 100 people in a thing that goes around a planet, and you get to for an hour and a half. You're just hanging out, looking out the window. That'd be sick.
Yeah. NASA even said that they're on board for allowing civilians to board the International Space Station. So
that'd be cool too.
So once we can get civilians into space, like the price is at a point where they can get up there, like they'll welcome. I mean, within reason, they obviously aren't going to just let everybody just pile on there. Right. But no, they were like completely open to the idea of just regular civilians like visiting the International Space Station, on an approval basis.
Yeah, and then there's like Adam C is talking about. I think you just mentioned that too, about like the hyperbolic flights to get from like here from San Francisco to India in 30 minutes, kind of thing.
Yep, just follow like a ballistic trajectory and then just like come down. Yeah, you're basically an ICBM with a human instead of a nuke,
right?
That flips over at the end and lands meticulously instead of being a missile.
That flip is what's going to be gross. People are going to be yarfing left and right, just puking all over and it will be. That flip is just because you're going to go wahoo, and then you're going like this, and then like
that's going to feel pretty gnarly. That's going to feel really gnarly.
Or it's just up, and then you kind of hang out and then fall tail first. But the way that the Starship is doing it, it comes in.
Yeah,
it's coming in sideways and then lands like. That's nuts.
Yeah, so like it's got to be like a roller coaster where it's like belly down, your legs are just dangling and you're looking like straight ahead, and then the thing just like whips under and it feels like you're going through like a high G loop on a roller coaster and then just landing back first. That would be the safest way for the crew though, because if all the G-force that's exerted on you is back down, so your head is supported in a cradle and your body's supported, that's like the best way to hit something. That's why like the the Apollo capsule, everybody's sitting in the bottom with their back facing down, because on launch all the G-force is pushing you into the seat, and on landing all the G-force is pushing you into the seat. So you don't need a Hans device or whatever. Whereas in a front end collision, your head can whip forward and you can break your neck and your back. So I think you can take, I don't know how many G's the human body can take momentarily, like with your back in the seat like that, but I'd imagine it's probably
like 8 to 10 or something like that.
Oh, no, you can sustain 8 to 10. Like I'm talking about like survivable in an instant, like a jarring, like one boom. Like I think there was a dude that like hit over 100 G's or something for like a fraction of a second on that rocket sled back in the 60s and like detached his retinas and like fucked up like his bones and stuff, but he survived. Like he was alive, and I think he even got like the Medal of Freedom or something from the president, like for like breaking the sound barrier or something like that. What was that guy's name? Somebody in chat will know. This is what I love. You always have somebody in here that like actually knows the guy's name.
Give it 10 seconds for the stream to catch up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we are on a little bit of a delay there, aren't we? So
guy on a rocket sled survived 45.
Was it 45 G's?
That's what Czar Pro Stock is saying.
Got it. Okay, so 45 G's though is insane because you pass out. Like if you don't have a G suit on, you're like, out at like 8 or 9 Gs, like the average person. Sure. Obviously, if you learn how to do the breathing exercise and shit like the Blue Angels, you can do pressure like 13.
Suit. You got to have that pressure suit too, because like it swells up and like squeezes you to keep your blood from moving around.
Yep. There's also like I was watching the Red Bull pilots that do the crazy pylon shit.
Yeah.
So some of the maneuvers that they do, they exceed 10 G. They get disqualified for it. They literally have a G meter in the thing that if they exceed it, they get disqualified because then it's considered unsafe. Sure. But they do these breathing exercises. Like I was watching this GoPro video where the guy's going, he's like. You know, he looks like he's taking the wickedest shit you've ever seen in your life, and he's pulling like 11 Gs, and he's still fully conscious.
Wow!
Like at 11 Gs, your retina's got to be like fucking detaching. Like you must be getting tunnel vision and like black and white.
You got to be
right?
almost blacking out. Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's pretty wild that they can do that. And then with the G suits, they can even go higher, right? Like the Blue Angels fly. Actually, no, I think do the Blue Angels fly with G suits? I can't remember. It's either the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels that don't fly with G suits, even though they could. Because it hinders their performance. Like somehow having it. Oh, there's Doggo. Look at that big old Doggo.
Oh, she's so big.
I love how when you pick her up, she just goes like completely stiff. She's like, oh God, I'm getting transported.
Okay.
What do I do? Okay, so you can take 9 Gs for a few seconds and -3 Gs for 1 second. Negative Gs are more dangerous and more uncommon too. Okay, yeah, the Blue Angels don't use G suits. That's what I thought, which makes it even more impressive. Because the Blue Angels do like these high speed maneuvers in close proximity to each other, and they do high G maneuvers.
Oh yeah.
And they're not wearing G suits. Although they did have an accident. You heard about that, right? Like a couple of years ago, the dude that passed out and just like flew down on the tree line and exploded.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, one of the Blue Angel pilots, he passed out during a maneuver. And he literally you see the plane just like just lose altitude into the tree line and just explode. And they didn't have any communication with him from the time that he broke formation and started falling into the tree line. And so he passed out. Like they think during a high G maneuver, or he might have had a brain aneurysm or something like that, but he basically just like lights out and then you can't eject, right? Like there's no way to get out of the craft. So you just go down with it. What I think would be cool in today's technology is if they could remotely control the aircraft. So like with autopilot and stuff like that, like have something like an eye tracker or something like that. And if the pilot like checks out or loses consciousness or goes slack, like just have the autopilot kick in and like bring that shit back and land it.
Or at least a remote like ejection, you know, like, oh shit, if he's going down, and then last minute hit a button.
Yeah, like if he's over water or over a safe area, because they can't do that. They're not, this is one rule that they have in the Blue Angels. You can't eject if you're over civilian population. You have to, even if it means costing you your own life, you have to steer the craft into an area that is the least amount of human fatalities. So if you're over a city, like it's your response. If you have to die to get that thing out of the city and crash it into the woods, that's what you do. Like otherwise they're gonna like court martial your ass and like throw you in jail for like trying to save yourself, like, and taking out a school full of children. Right. But again, I mean, they fly over civilian populations, so it's like you have to have some pretty hardcore rules like that. So John Paul Stopp was the rocket sled pilot that attached his retinas. Oh God, he looked gnarly after it too. Like, go look it up, guys. It's wild. Like they get him off the rocket sled and he looks like a zombie. His eyes are just completely blood. Like it looks like he just has 2 balls of blood in his eyes. Like he's a demon. And I think it even broke like his ribs and shit. Like he sustained a fair amount of damage. He survived, but he had permanent damage. Like it fucked up his walking. It fucked up his vision for life. He had to wear like Coke bottle glasses after that. Like, I mean, he fucked himself up bad.
Crushed against the harness or whatever. Like it's just, you're suddenly 85 times heavier than you should be for a brief second.
So I was right. Yeah, Desmond Bradley confirmed it. World record's 83 Gs. So I said 80 Gs. So yeah, that was the guy that did 83 Gs. Whoa. And it was the deceleration, not the acceleration, because it was a rocket sled.
It's the stop.
And at the end it hits like a body of water, and the water like rapidly decelerates it. And so he experienced 83 G and survived. So and it was his research that led to aircraft being able to pull high G maneuvers, because there was no reason to build an aircraft that could pull that many Gs if it was going to kill the pilot. So so they did testing to see like, what can the human body handle, which was way beyond what they thought was possible. Like I remember that with the rocket sled, like him putting his life on the line, which nobody would be allowed to do that today, right? But like back then, by him doing that, he basically moved forward like the production of aircraft to be able to handle much higher Gs than they ever thought the human body could, because he was able to survive it. So that was like a game changer. MD Hofsey said there's at least 20 Blue Angel pilots that died. No, I know a lot of Blue Angel pilots have died, but this one was weird. This one was like the dude literally just, this wasn't like the plane broke up or a plane tagged another plane, which is usually what happens. Like usually in a formation, the two planes will contact each other and rip each other's wings off and shit. This was just the dude just passed out. Like he was just cruising along and he just lost consciousness and they were like, hey, are you there? Hey, what's going on? What's going on? It just like slowly just goes down into the tree line and then just boom. Like it was very bizarre. It was, I remember this. God, it was probably a long time ago. It was probably like 7 or 8 or 10 years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I think it was the last major like fatality.
Dang.
4 FA-18 deaths so far. Really? I mean, I guess that's not really that surprising as much as they fly though. Like when you factor that in, how many of them there are, how much they fly throughout the year. I mean, 4 deaths out of like how many hours in the sky doing crazy maneuvers in that proximity. Yeah, right? Like, I'm not saying that any death is acceptable. I'm just saying that, you know, it seems to me that if you're doing that kind of high risk shit at the bleeding edge of what stuff can do, that's like, you know, expected. Although if it's because of failure, if it's because the airplane failed, then that's unacceptable. If it was because of pilot error, then that's kind of expected.
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, I remember there was a Blue Angels incident where 2 of them collide. They're doing a maneuver where they're both coming at each other. I remember when I was a kid, I was watching, they come at each other or whatever, and they turn to like go across each other's belly and they like, well, they clip each other's wings and like rip each other's wings off. And I think they ejected. I think at least one of the guys survived that. Maybe both of them did, but I remember they ejected after they collided because the aircraft just both went in a spin because it literally busted off the wings of both planes. And I was like, holy shit. It was over water though, so I don't think anybody on the ground died from that one. They mostly fly over water. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about SN10, we talked about Microsoft getting hacked, we talked about the 3D printing houses. Now let me see. I think that's it. And yeah, the 611, I think we covered all the topics.
Wow.
I think we did.
We haven't done that. We haven't done that in like 2 months.
Dude. That's like fucking unheard of. Jeez. Hey, I want to thank everybody today for hanging out with us. This has been awesome. It was cool. David got to come hang out with us today. He'll be back next week. So David confirmed, unless anything changes, he'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat place. Thank you everybody for the super chats. We really do appreciate that. Jeremy Redfern, Scott, Miss Liz, Kyle Morgan, Chelsea, Mage Miner, Tom Launt, Michael J. Morris, and IK Geo, and Michael Fernand. Thank you, sorry, Fernald. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting the stream. We'll see you again next week. And check the video description for all the links to our individual streams that we do over on Twitch, including David's stream that he does, Tech Banditry, AuxxZillary, building computers and doing what he does. And then me just like bitching about whatever the topic of the day I feel like is over on my stream on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we'll catch you guys again next time. We'll see you the rest of the week over on Twitter, where we're most active, our social network that we are usually living on because we are social media addicted. Yep. Let's see. Hold on. Just want to make sure that there's like 90. Miss Liz says bye, Miss Liz.
Bye.
All right. And I think that about wraps it up. See you guys next time. All right. Let me click the end button and see if my browser is still alive. I think it is.